So should we just start now, or do we need to wait for a few more people to join in?
Maybe 5 minutes, I don't know.
All right, we'll give maybe 5 minutes for people to join, some more people to join in, and then we will start our session right away. All right. Okay, good morning. It's 8:05 by my watch, and I hope we can begin now. I don't really know how many people are going to be joining today. I can see about 16, 17 odd people here on my screen. So is that the number of the batch? Is that okay?
We are not
Normally, it's
sure.
close to 20.
Close to 20. So we are about 17 right now here on the
I think
screen.
we can
So
start.
we should be able to start. All right, wonderful. So good morning, everyone. On a Friday morning, 8 o'clock, you guys have come in here. So I better keep you awake. And I better keep you engaged in through the session. So let's just begin our session. Let me share my screen with you all. And okay, there you are. Okay, so that's our topic, HRM. And my name is Pragya. Before we begin, let us just try and understand. We have to spend 4 hours together. Just let's try and introduce ourselves. And as I always say, this question is not something which can be answered very easily. It takes a lifetime to answer who am I. But yes, it's we need to know each ourselves and we need to introduce ourselves as well. So uh, how I'm going to introduce myself is that my name is Pragya. So with the letter P, I need to talk about myself. So let's say, what are the different adjectives I can use with the letter P? So I'm a passionate person, very, very passionate about my teaching, very passionate about my interaction with my students. I love to mentor. So I'm very passionate about that as well. Then I am with the letter P, I could say that perseverance is something which is close to me. So I'm hardworking as well, and let's see whether I can prove that or not. But yeah, I consider myself at least that I'm hardworking. Another thing I could tell about myself, something interesting about myself is that I meditate a lot. So I'm a ardent meditator. Every day I do that. And something boring is that, I read and, I have an obsessive compulsive disorder of keeping things in order, and I'm trying to work on it. I'm trying to meditate on it. So let's see how far I can improve on that. So I would like you guys to introduce yourself as well. Some few of you who can talk about yourself, and we can have a good, you know, warm up session in the first thing in the morning. We break our ice. Please, anyone who'd like to speak about themselves. We have such nice. I mean, the worst part of the online teaching is that I get to see some initials. I get FFL and JP and OA. I don't get to see the faces. So please, somebody would start, or you want me to pick up some initials here?
Good morning, ma'am. My name is Sangeeta.
Hi, Sangeeta.
How are you, ma'am?
I'm very good.
I literally don't have any words to start with S,
Okay.
but I work for a local bank in Dubai. I
Okay.
have two children.
Oh,
My
wonderful.
son is in India and my daughter is here with me.
Okay.
I'm very passionate about arts. Like I love
Wow.
dancing, but I don't dance at the moment. But I used to do it when I was young, and then I'm
Wonderful.
very
Why did you stop
I
dancing?
feel so
Why got
compassion.
you
I'm
bored?
so compassionate about people. I have a lot of people at work. They look forward if there is any issues, they come to me. So I feel good when I am, able to help others,
Wow.
and yeah, I enjoy life.
Lovely, lovely. And what
Thank you.
has led to your son being in India? Why is he occupied there?
Uh,
You got
he
stuck?
completed his engineering, and then during pandemic he got stuck there, and now he's working for Axis Bank in India at the moment.
Sangeeta,
Yes.
your profile picture is how old?
It's not that old.
My goodness, you don't look like having a son who is like has completed engineering and all that.
Thank
Oh
you,
my
ma'am.
God.
Thank you.
Excellent. I mean, I got to learn something. I have a 12-year-old and okay, forget it. Let's not talk about looks right now.
Thank you. Let
Okay.
others speak now. It was
Excellent.
nice.
Lovely.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Okay, wonderful. Anybody else who would like to speak? Please quickly, let's have some interaction in the morning and just wake up from our a
Doctor,
week.
good morning.
Good morning.
You called me before. You called me before to introduce myself or talk about myself. I'm sorry, but I'm having difficulties in the internet with my
Okay.
connection. So
Okay.
I don't know if everyone is able to hear me
I'm able to
properly.
hear you perfectly.
Okay.
Yes, please go ahead.
Okay. I will be very quick and short.
Totally.
I'm Abu Dimaini. This is my seventh course. I
Okay.
like HR.
All right.
I like the human resources. I like to work with people, with teams to enhance and motivate people. Sometimes I like to influence people by any kind, by any type, however I can. Um, I have a flat communication with all departments. I didn't tell you that I work in a food distribution company.
All right.
I've been
Okay.
working in food since almost 20, 21 years.
Oh, wow.
And today we are having another presentation. This is why you will see a low attendance number. That's it. Hopefully next week will be more than 18.
All right. I see. So there's another session that's going on. I didn't know that. Okay. All right. Okay.
Uh, this that's it for the time being. Thank you very much. And we will meditate maybe one day. Thank you.
Totally. Wonderful. Excellent. Anyone else? There's a lot of names in here. I don't want to call out names. Somebody just come up yourself and then we can commence with our session so that we know each other a little more, and we need a lot of interaction in the course as well. 4 hours. I cannot be just talking all the time. So somebody else, please, quickly.
Good
Yes,
morning.
please. Good morning.
I will start with letter M. My name
All
is
right.
Muhammad Hassan. I have been working for 17 years with Carrefour, and recently I joined Union Card. And actually, I just want to add something regarding the meeting of a human resource. There is another meeting I can see on the Sharjah team. There is a 2 meeting there for a human resource. I don't know if there is something wrong on the.
I don't know, and honestly, I don't know whom do I check with. Why is there another meeting? Because
So maybe there is some
when
people who joined that meeting and some people who's here as well.
oh, I hope there is no confusion regarding that. Uh, I really don't know whom to check this with, and being a Friday morning, I don't know, and I don't have.
Yes, Doctor. I actually there was something in the Teams and it updated itself. It get me out. Then when I logged in, I was in another meeting. There were only 3 people there, so I just did update, and then I got this link again. But I don't
Okay.
know. Yes, there is another meeting link.
All right. So, can anybody help me with this? Can you just check and join the other meeting and ask?
Sedu can control that group. I mean, he can close the group and he can divert the people to this group. I mean, Sedu
Okay.
is a administrator. He is recording the session. He can do it now.
So how do I do that?
Yes,
Can
Sedu is hearing that our discussions. I mean, he is admin. He can do all the things now.
okay, there is 2 meetings now, correct. So, okay. Is it sorted by itself or do I have to help?
I think one has to be cancelled, and the people there to be logged in into this one by you, by the organizer.
But I am actually not the organizer, honestly. I did not start this meeting. Do I need to join? What do I do? Tell me please, guys. Should I join this meeting?
No, you
No,
don't
no, no.
have to
If you
join
will
that
join the other
meeting. We can
meeting,
continue in this meeting, and then once people can automatically identify, because after some time the organizer will close. We had this issue last time also.
I see. Okay. So we can continue with this meeting, right? So
Yes.
this should not be an issue. I don't even know who's the organizer, honestly, today. Generally, it is Henna. In the other batches that I teach, it's Henna was there. But I don't see anybody. I think somebody called Setu joined started the meeting, if I'm not wrong, right? Yeah, there's somebody called
Yeah,
Setu
Seju
who
is the
joined.
organizer of ATMS. He has joined. I mean, he given the link for join the class.
Okay. All right. So let's continue with our session here. All right. Okay. I hope everybody can join in and no, and anyway, the meeting will be recorded and I hope they join it soon. All right. Okay. So yeah, we were speaking to NM, right?
MH, Mudar Hassan.
MH. Okay, Modar Hassan. All right. MH there. All right. Okay. All right, Modar. You haven't told me anything about yourself.
Oh, what you want to know?
All right, something that you would like to share about, like Sangeeta shared, and Mr. Ambodhi shared, and then something about yourself. We got to know each other. Everybody needs to know each other, right? You guys get a time to interact somehow, all of you together, or is it just separately you guys join in the meeting and no class feeling at all?
it's a class online. There is no joining at all.
Oh, okay, all right.
We
Okay.
got time to interact only for this previous session, entrepreneurship, where we formed as a group, and then today is a group presentation for that. So
Oh.
we know few people, but we all should meet one day.
All right, so you have your group presentation today and after the session on HRM?
Yeah, afternoon.
Oh my God. Okay, so all the best for that, and I better be quick.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I better not bore you guys. So, all right, okay. If you think we've spent some amount of time with this, trying to know each other, but okay, maybe during the course we will get to know ourselves better. All right, let's look into some of the expectations that I have from you guys. That I want some really constructive participation, not of these kinds, obviously, and it's not even possible through the online session. Then I have two pictures in here. Could you tell me what I am? I wanted to say that you should not be a crocodile, neither should you be a rabbit. Can you tell me a difference between these two?
Not being very hyper or not being very lazy. That's
Not
what
being
shows.
Not being hyper, not being lazy. All right. Okay. All right. Anything else? Anything else that comes to your mind?
Neither
Okay,
be
let me.
aggressive,
Yeah, yes, please.
so kind. Neither to be so aggressive and so kind.
Neither too aggressive nor too kind. Okay, let me give you a hint. Okay, let's say look at their physical characteristics. What is the big difference that you see? Okay, let's take a look at the mouth of the crocodile, right? The huge mouth, right? And look at the ears of the rabbit, huge ears, right? So what I'm trying to say from these two pictures is that in our session, we're going to spend some 16 hours together. So in the session, try not to be always talking, and now don't try to always listen. Okay, we like human beings. We've got two nice ears and one small mouth, and we speak half the amount of time that we listen to, but we do speak. Okay, we just don't sit quietly with our closed cameras with our initials on. I can't even see the initials actually because I have my presentation on. So I want to hear some interaction. I want to have some fun in the session while we are trying to learn or trying to facilitate our learning. But let's see, we want you to talk while you are in the part of the session. We need a good amount of interaction here. Okay, so that's one of the basic expectations I have. Then yeah, if we can have a nice 4 hours without the mobile phone, that would be really nice. It will have a nice glow and people feel younger without the mobile, trust me. My pedagogical style generally involves definitely a part of the lecture is a significant part of my subject because it's a theoretical subject, so it needs some good amount of lectures. I try to use a lot of videos. I hope they do work on this platform. I am just keeping my fingers crossed. Let's see if it works. Then we generally try to play a few games and definitely case study is a very important part of the course. And then comes this person with a cloud on its head, right? So we need a lot of thinking, a lot of critical thinking and discussion being involved as a part of this session, because otherwise it makes no sense if I just keep talking and like a great guru, I keep giving a discourse and you guys just keep looking at it and then you go back and you'll hear the discourse again. And that's ridiculous. So let's not do that. Let's have a good critical thinking and interaction while we are having in the session. All right. Okay. So that's the agenda for the day. So we start with the history of HRM and we look into some HR planning and acquisition and a lot of stuff related to HR. So that's the last agenda. The hidden agenda is there is a hidden agenda for sure. And the hidden agenda is to actually, not have a boring morning, have something fun and interesting. Let's see how we can make it. But I need your support from that. I cannot do it all by myself. We need to have a good interaction. Otherwise it's going to be really boring, right? So we will begin with our session on HRM, okay, and starting with the history of HRM, all right, or the evolution of how we have evolved as HRM. Before the Industrial Revolution actually started, when we started having some factories, generally the work was organized around the guild workers were there. Guild as in people would come together and they start working on a particular, like a skill, like a carpentry or masonry. So they would come together. So that point in time, they did not have enough, bargaining rights. There wasn't anything HR there at all, right? So it was largely to do with they come together, they were paid their wages, and that's how they just continued to perform. However, when the Industrial Revolution came, it brought a lot of change in the entire setup of how people were performing. So the factories were established, and the fact that the factories were established, it started to bring about the welfare officer, right? And the welfare officer was the one who was looked into the overall well-being of the people who were working in the factory. And it was basically any guesses on which country actually first came up with the say the some principles of HR, some code of conduct? Any idea which country ever first came up with it? Blind guesses, come on guys, just blind guesses. You don't sorry?
UK.
Absolutely, there you are. That's right, Britain. So Britain was the first country basically which came up with the code of principles for people to work in the factories, right? So that's where it started. The code of discipline started coming from Britain, and there, the first kind of HR started. And then the World War happened in the round, and during the World War, a huge transition happened at the workplace because women started to work. Now, women were brought to work in the factories is first of all to meet the growing demands of all the, the kind of war material was required. So there was an increased demand in that, and also because the men were dying and a lot of men were getting injured because they were in the war site. So because of that, the women came up into workplace, and then the workplace was defined due to the entry of women. And so, different kinds of welfare programs were established. And then came something which is called as Hawthorne studies. Has anybody ever heard of this before? Hawthorne studies. Uh, Not a very common name though. Okay, so Elton Mayo was a social scientist and he did some studies. So during that time, after the Industrial Revolution and the World War, lot of experiments were being done on the factory setting. Okay, and everybody was trying to improve their production. So was Elton Mayo interested in one of the studies and he wanted to check the impact of illumination and ventilation on how people become more productive. Now, it was assumed that obviously if the area is more lit, there is more light and there is fresh air around, so people will be more productive. However, this study had some seriously surprising findings. And the finding was that it is not illumination or light or ventilation which impacts people's productivity, but it is the social relations or it is the groups in which the people perform, that people work, that has an impact on the overall productivity. So a lot of ladies would used to come together and they would, while their work time, they used to talk, interact, and while they are talking, in that process, they were improving their productivity. If they were separated, then their productivity would go down. So it was basically you got to know that through these studies, which was on illumination and ventilation, there were surprising findings, and they got to know that, oh wow, so there is something called a social science or a social impact of workplace. And Hawthorne studies were the key experiments which led to the interest in the era of human relations. Okay. And then came the World War. World War again, Second World War happened. Again, here it was about increasing the production. And because the Hawthorne studies had happened, there was more focus on keeping the relations between the labor and the management harmonious. Okay. People were trying to come together and have unions, and they would fight the management for their rights, but then their focus was largely on keeping the relations more harmonious. Moving on to the industrial and human relation movement era. In this era, the focus moved on from people to the work. Okay, so how we can motivate people through the job that they are doing. So job enrichment became a very important part of this era. So they started focusing on the job itself. And also, when it came to the industrial setup, collective bargaining and industrial relations was set up in this time. The formalized HRM era and the contemporary HRM era. Formalized era is basically the time where globalization started happening, right, across the world. And so people from the different countries started moving into workplaces, and we know the current era, right? So we moved from basically the welfare officer to now we have become the human capital. Okay, we don't even call human resource, we are now capital. Okay, and we have become from a simple labor or from a simple person working in the factory, in the field, we are now referring HR as HR business partners, right? So we have a seat at the table. I'm hoping we have a seat at the table. Okay, and so we are now focused on the people part of it. Okay, so that's how we have evolved, HRM. Now, if you look at HRM as the subject, okay, if you pick up any book, and we have uploaded a few books for you as well, it is largely from the organizational perspective, right? That, you study HRM as to what is rightly done in the organization, what needs to be followed, what are the different steps that needs to be taken for different aspects of HR. However, when we look at the course today, we will look into not just the organization perspective, but because we have some nice 20 plus people here who are already working, we will look into the employee perspective as well. Okay, so you guys share the employee perspective as well. what's happening at your workplace. Okay, so that we can have the complete view of HRM. Okay, is it all good? Can I have a quick feedback? Am I too fast? Am I too slow? Am I okay? All right, quick feedback.
It's okay, doctor. Till now.
All right, thank you very much. So let's just continue. So if you were to look at HRM, obviously it's influenced by both external forces, the pestle environment, the political, economic, social, technological, and the legal environment, and also within the organization, the internal environment. The pestle forces, the external environment impact the overall business strategy, the org culture, the structure, everything. And so is HRM affected by that. So that's the idea of now, the first thing that we start in the course is HR planning. Now, big term, lot we taught a course in HR planning. So when you do specializations in HR, do you do take up a full course in HR planning? But HR planning basically in simple terms, right number of people, right skills, right place, right time, right? So that's what planning is all about, right? And it's largely about how the, or how the overall organization strategy, and you are matching those, meeting the supply and demand, right? The HR supply and demand meets with the overall objective of the organization. That's the key thing for when it comes to HR planning. I'm not going into too much detail of HR planning because we could look into how forecasting is done for HR planning. Largely here, how we could see that how succession plans are done or how the replacement charts are used. This is not the key part of your course as of now because we have to overall cover everything in HRM and there is a lot of stuff to be covered. So I'm just introducing the concept of HR planning, which you guys yourself know very well. All right. So that's the HRP process that starting with the environment, you look into the organization objectives, have the demand and forecast. Now, if obviously, if after you have identified if there is a surplus, then you reduce that surplus through, either you lay off people, you send them on leaves, right? And if there is shortage, you recruit more people or you tend to give them extra work. There's they have to work overtime and that's how you meet the demand. Okay, that's a very important question. Okay, how do you think this crisis has redefined your jobs? Can we have some questions in here, some answers in here, some experiences that you have shared, have had during your work experience? How do you think this crisis is redefining the jobs? Hello?
During the pandemic of hello.
Yes, please, we can hear you. We can hear you.
Yes, during the coronavirus pandemic,
Yeah.
actually, there are many jobs there are many posts which was needed, and the HR had blocked it and it defined that we could not recruit people, and we have reorganized our rules and responsibilities in where we are working, and extra jobs were given according to our experience, according to our abilities to do the job, according to our cooperation or sections or directory where we are allocated.
Okay. You said that you are doing extra work during this time. That's what you said, right? I couldn't
Extra
hear you
work
properly.
defined, yes, extra work defined under our job responsibilities. It had been added to us.
Uh-huh. Okay. All right. Anything else that happened? I mean, other than the fact that, yes, people were laid off, a lot of people were laid off because of the cutting costs, the amount of losses that the organization was facing. So one is that you're saying is that you were made to do extra work. Okay. Anything else that happened during this time for you guys?
Hi, Dr. Anup
Yes,
here.
please. Hello, Anup.
I think one of the key changes that I've seen at this point of time during pandemic is remote working has been very explored a lot. And with that, what's happening is they understand that they could have the back office people working remotely. Now, by doing this, one of the biggest issue that has happened, like a lot of the back office works have now been transferred to countries like India, countries like other places, where a lot of the people who are working here in the back office have lost their job. Because they could understand that they don't need to have physically person in their office to get these jobs
Correct.
done. Um,
Correct.
I've seen a lot of retail companies doing that, and I've seen a lot of other companies in IT structure also have done that.
Yes.
Um, and some of the other things that I think what has mainly happened also is that they managed to cut off a lot of channels. For example, in real estate residential leasing, there used to be a section called a customer relation. The customer relations job is to basically take issues related to maintenance issues of their complaints, related to renewals, a lot of things. Now, recently, the companies have come up with an online app where everything can be done online. So now, because of this transition of coronavirus aspect, these things are explored, and a lot of these people
Yes.
have this entire division has now completely wiped off. It's not there, and
Yeah.
it's now everything online. And they put these people to somewhere else. Some people have asked to leave. So there are a lot of changes that has happened. In as a company point of view, it's good because it helped them to improve the way they look
Correct.
at stuff. But
Yeah.
at the same time, it has spoiled a lot of people's jobs. So this is the things that's happened. Yeah.
Correct. Beautifully put, Anup. They're lovely. Okay, excellent. So, yeah, so that's the employee perspective. If you look at it, how an employee or how we will talk about redefining jobs, right? Now, if I were to say that how the academicians or how the universities, come up with these reports about how the coronavirus crisis is redefining jobs, I'll show you, in this slide how the same thing that Anup just mentioned, that and Anup and the lady before mentioned that how the work is being added, how it is put in a very different and a positive light by the academicians. And I'm talking about Harvard Business Review largely. Okay, so one of the research reports that that recently came up from HBR was about how corona has redefined our jobs. Well, we all understand what exactly is happening, but they say that one of the ways that what people are focusing on is that they are making the work portable across the organizations, and they're saying that all these these automobile giants, they have used their factories and they have retooled it to produce more ventilators for instead of the car parts. And then some of these organizations which were producing apparel, they were apparel companies, they started producing surgical masks and gowns. So that's interesting that how they have put it. And another thing which Anup rightly pointed out is that it's accelerating automation is the key thing here, right? That at the companies are focusing largely on technology now, and they want the work to be done through largely automated processes, right? Now, one of the beauties of the automation, definitely, I would agree, is the fact that because the process gets automated, people find more time, okay? And largely they get time, and because they get time, hence the people have can focus largely on being more empathetic towards the needs of the customers. Now, if you look into the different researches, and also if you just simply internalize, this time of coronavirus really requires empathy from each one of us, from the largely the organization point of view. Okay, now Disney has turned out to be the best organization when it comes to HR in 2020. Okay, the Disney International. So now, why is it the best? Supposed to be the best, company? It's because they have largely focused on the management quality and how they are dealing with their people. That's the key thing, because definitely we know that businesses are low across the world, right? And in these times, how do we come up with managing our people is the main thing which is going to set us apart. So when we accelerate or when we automate things, if that helps, it definitely cuts out a few jobs for sure. But if it is helping people have more time and become more empathetic, then I think that's a good part of it. Furthermore, it is, this is interesting that you share employees in industry, cross-industry talent exchanges, okay? So, some people move working from, the airline hospitality, they could, work into health sector and, it could, if that is possible. So this is the how the same what we just discussed from the employees point of view, that how our work is being, we are being given extra work, and how the organizations are cutting cost, moving the back end work to other countries with cheap labor. I'm sorry to use the word cheap labor, but definitely it's cost cutting measures. So all of those things have been put so beautifully by HBR in a very, very positive light. So that's the HBR 2021 report which talks about it. Okay, uh, let's move on. Okay, let's have a small quick discussion over here. If let's look into your HR planning, right? We were speaking of that. So if you are the HR manager and you have to come up with a strategic plan, and your objective is that the organization has to grow 5 times in 10 years. Where are you going to start with? What are the different information that you're going to consider before presenting the plan? Can we quickly have a small discussion on this? Take your time, maybe maybe a minute or so, and then we can have some answers, please.
Hi, Doctora.
Yes,
This is
please.
Nabil here.
Okay.
One thing maybe we could consider before we go for the expansion is just first to see the existing number of the staff that we have, and then to link it with the objective of organization. I mean, whether the company is profitable today or not. And based on that, we will consider that if we go for the expansion and to increase, 5 times. Maybe in 10 years, sometimes it could be, longer term to expand. It could be just more forecasting. That's why we do like every budget every year, just to reforecast. And sometimes in some companies, they do every 3 months also, just to like the last estimate, to see that where we are today versus what we agreed on the budget.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's, I think, the two things I would say, to compare the number with the business objectives today so far.
Okay, so you compare the numbers today with the business objectives. That's where you're saying you're going to start. Okay. What next will you do? What is the next thing? What else? So what else?
I think
What are you
one Mr. Mohammed Radi has been raising his hand. I think he wants to talk to you.
Please, sorry, sir, I just wanted to really clarify here, right here, is that I cannot, Mohammed, I cannot see the hands up, because if I have to, I have to come back to the screen, and I cannot, if I get this entire thing say minimized, then you will not be able to see the entire PPT. It will block, like this part. If I see, it will block the PPT. So that's why I avoid it, and I'm not able to see the hands. Just please speak. That's really important.
I just trying to be organized, just in case of cutting each other. So that's fine. Well, just before I start with my idea about the expansion, as you said, this is my 44th minute of the whole MBA. This is my first course, and I'm happy to see you guys with that passion and detailed discussions. I'm hoping I'll be an addition to this course as well. Okay,
Lovely.
from my perspective on the expansion, first step on I'm coming from banking industry. I've been a senior relationship manager in the business banking. I don't manage any people, and yeah. So my idea to be just like a general ideas of the HR kind of. I think we should start with assessing all the sources what we have now, just to understand what is their capabilities and what is what they can do extra, or we have to hire more. We have to promote them to lead the newcomers. This is in one aspect. And the second, I think we should sit with the business planning or the financials or whatever, who's responsible for the expansion, and to understand more what is their views. How is it? Is it a number of sales? It is expansion on different line of businesses.
Right.
Yeah, we need to understand first which direction they are taking us, and then we can
Right.
assess our current sources and
Okay.
take it forward from there.
Yes, lovely. All right. Okay. Anyone else wants to add to this? The two important points that we've had here.
Yeah, Doctor. I'm Jagdish with you.
Okay.
I'm planning that I can do some strategic plan how we can take a efficiency from the peoples for next 5 years, 10 when the company is growing 5 years by
Mhm.
putting a proper system in place to avoid duplicative works to remove all duplicative works and making more efficient than earlier. This is my strategic plan. I will give the
Could you just
strategic plan
repeat the
ultimately.
last? Just repeat the last point that you mentioned. I didn't get that part of it.
I mean,
The,
a lot of duplications works. I mean, one person will do this work, and again other people will do
uh-huh.
similar work.
Okay.
Uh, so by system we can avoid all these duplications, so that the efficiency of the manpower will increase.
Okay, all right, all right. Okay, excellent. Very interesting points there. When I was thinking of this entire question and the scenario here, I thought that maybe we could just, if I have to, project myself as, 5 years growth in 10-year time, 5 times growth in 10 years time, then maybe let me look at what are the current impediments in that we have in our system, right? What is it that could restrict me from growing? So I could look into number one. Of course, we have to look into our what is the status of our resources currently. But before that, if I were to look into some impediments, that what, let's say, which brand is something which is restricting me from growth, or let's look at which channel. Maybe this particular channel I'm not able to sell more. So let me look into that and identify my battlegrounds. Right. So what is my battleground? I need to identify. Based on that, if you look into the prior performance in those particular battlegrounds, let's say a channel, a particular channel where I'm not able to sell, let's say off premise or on premise, I'm not able to sell. So I'm going to look into the prior performance of that, look into other companies which are operating in that realm, and do a research in there, and then maybe look into my competencies current, what competencies are required, then do look into the total staff requirement, and based accordingly do the forecasting part of it. So beautiful interaction that we had here. I hope to continue to have the same interaction furthermore. I have, and please, as I said, please, everybody, whoever wants to speak, I cannot see the screen, and just speak up, okay? Just tell your name and speak up so that we know that there is some, I know the name at least. We're supposed to have 10% marks for class interaction also, just to get you motivated to talk. All right. Okay, let's go ahead. So as we just said that the overall we have to look into the strategic goals of the company, and based on that we identify the competencies and the behaviors that are required to achieve that particular goal of the organization. So that's something based on that the entire HRM system is evolved. Okay. Now you guys have such great experiences. I don't know what to talk about. What can I what knowledge can I pass on to you? I rather let's have just more discussions, right? So what has been the role of HR department in your organizations? Like, anybody who has not spoken so far, who needs to get some class participation marks, can we have some interaction here? What is the role of HR department, right?
في
What have
idea,
they done? Yes, please.
في idea as well.
Sorry.
Actually, the nature of HR manager nowadays, it's only like a police on the company. It's not actually practicing the real job of HR or real title of HR.
Uh-huh.
يعني we call it a human resource, but actually it's not related to the human being at all.
It's not related to the human being at all.
Yes,
What are they doing
since
in your
it's
organization?
mean that the HR nowadays it's automated. It's something now linked to the system. It's not anymore like as the name of the HR.
All right. So if I were to say your experience with HR, how has it been?
No, for me it's fine, and I don't have any issue with them. But what I can see that there is something it's really unfair, especially on the pandemic time.
Right, right, right. So yeah, I know HR wants to save their ass all the time. That I know. I know they don't want to get into the trouble I hung because everybody is after them. Uh, yes. In fact, one of my relatives is working in some insurance organization, and she's in HR. And it's unfortunate that she has an again 11-year-old. She said, "Oh yeah, she works in admin. She's in charge of admin of the organization." I was so surprised to hear that from a small young girl saying that her mother is working in admin. Now HR especially in this part of the world, sir, I think it's become more of to do with the admin task largely. And it's unfortunate, but trust me, it is not like this across the world. So there is much more that can be done in HR other than just the admin part of it. And it is being done in other parts of the world for sure. So there is light after the tunnel. So we will hope that this part of the world also will definitely, you guys doing your courses in MBA, and you go and enlighten the people in your organization. Definitely we can do much more with HR that is there. Okay, so your expectations with HR, and if they were met, anybody else wants to share their expectations, and if it has any experiences, any critical incidents that can add some spark to the the boring discussion that we will have in the further, or rather the boring
I can
um,
add,
yes,
this is
please.
Nabil. I
Yes,
can add something just on HR.
yes,
Since I've been
please.
in this field for the last 12 years. So
Okay,
generally,
wonderful.
I hear what my colleague just said about the HR. And this is, yeah, unfortunately, I think in some companies, I mean, if I wouldn't say just few, but a lot of companies, I think it's not, the HR is not perceived in, let's say, in the right way. So it could
Correct.
be police, it could be in different aspects. But
Correct.
generally, I think larger organization where we have a big number of people in
Yes.
from the HR side, they
Yes.
have different sections, different departments, and I can
Right.
name just few, which is also similar in my organization or company I'm working for. So it could be
Right.
the department for the talent and recruitment. So where they're solely more focused on bringing talents and recruiting people.
Correct.
And there will be, of course, HR management or HRBP, where we
Yes.
focus more on the employee relations part. And this
Correct.
is where I think people always, let's say, they are linking it with the HR admin side, which is not necessarily the same. I think it's more, they are related more to employees. I think they do the budgeting, they do the employee relations issues actually on the organization with the employees that happens. And then, of course, the admin side, which is the operational, which
Correct.
majority of people perceived it as this is only HR. But this is actually, I think, only the 1/3 or quarter of the HR side in general cycle. But
Yeah.
that's the normal payroll, the normal the employee processing admin stuff. in other companies, there will be also organization structure where people will be more focused on the organization side and how they want to look like, how they want to merge jobs or create new jobs based on the business needs. And this is where it will be helpful for the fast growing organization, because they need to be creative to create also the jobs. But of course, and I link with what has been said about during the pandemic, there was also some shrinkage on the jobs, meaning that they link some jobs, they have to, I mean, some organizations, they were a bit better than the others. Some of them, they laid off the employees. Some of them, they had to add more responsibility, which means that they have to link two jobs to one jobs, just to make sure. And some of them, they just made it, they just made some cost cutting, and they reduced the salaries. So, I mean, every company has different way of reacting to the pandemic in general.
I have a small question. What are you doing here, sir? Why this course for you?
I'm, I mean, currently working or?
No, I was just saying that this course on HRM, I mean, you guys have experience and everything then, and you know it all. So why the course? What's the point of being, why the course? This
Well,
HR,
I'm pursuing the MBA. This is my second course. So, but my field is in HR. So I've been in HR for
okay. All right.
years.
That's because of the MBA. All right. Excellent. Thank you so much for the value addition to the discussion. Let's look at what Society for Human Resource Management talks about, right? It talks about some specific HR. That's what, when we said that, you know, HR having very limited role, it is not so in reality, it is not so. Maybe some of the organization, and when you have a smaller organization, you do not want to focus on HR. You generally feel HR as just a support function, and HR as, you know, utilizing more resources than adding value to the organization. However, it is not so, because HR is definitely it forms the basis of any organization, forms the culture of any organization. So if you look at it from the, you know, SHRM, it's a very important you know, organization when it comes to you know, in coming up with the HR principles and the current trends. So the HR functional areas, if you look at it, the strategic planning and all of this add to the, you know, the technical competencies that HR people need to have are the people related, the organization related, and the workplace related. So let's look at some of the expertise that you know within the, you know, people aspect of it, which we are going to largely focus on today, is going to be the talent acquisition, the employee engagement, not the engagement, we wouldn't have time for that, talent acquisition, and perhaps to an extent training. Okay, so this builds the people of the organization, and then the, you know, the entire labor relations, how the technology is managed, the different work systems at place, all of this adds to the organization. And then overall, you know, whether how well are you functioning in the global setup, right? In the overall world setup, how you are functioning leads to the technical competency in there. And then comes the some behavioral competencies as well, which are required by the HR people, and they help build these competencies in the other set of in the overall organization as well. So largely, if you look at it, the leadership, you know, you need to have the acumen, you know, need to have interpersonal skills, right? The relationship management, and from there, you know, for a good interpersonal skills, it is really important that, you know, you are a good mix with the different cultures, and your communication is crystal clear, right? And it's without any confusions, without very clear communication is required. While to create the business acumen, how well you are able to consult and how well you are able to critically evaluate the different scenarios, how well you understand the business, impart the critical business acumen to HR, right? Okay, the HR strategic role, as we just discussed this, that, you know, it's all about aligning it with the organization strategies and how we can support that. Okay, that's a pun in there, and let me move out of the slide faster. and let's not discuss more. Okay, moving on to the HR acquisition in here largely. Let us ask you something very simple. What challenges do you face while looking for work? You know, current times definitely a lot of challenges. I'm not talking about the current times, but generally because current times is the employer's market completely. Okay, for one particular job, you get thousands of CVs. We're not talking about a current job, a current scenario. We're talking about generally when you are looking for work, what are the challenges do you face? What problems have you come across? Anyone? It's a simple question actually.
I think it depends upon the stage of your career. For instance, if you're a new person, you're just come out of university and you want to get into a job, the biggest challenge that they face is everywhere you go, they ask you, what is your experience? And that's the issue. And a lot of the people, they don't get the opportunity to go and apply because they don't have experience. I think nowadays,
And when you are
the
at the
company.
senior level, they say that you have too much of experience to match our. We don't need so much of experience. That's also a
Yeah.
problem.
Yeah, I think one of the things that they need to adapt, companies have to adapt, they have to change, is that today, the new generation, the new people are more, I think, more advanced in their approach to people, more advanced in how things are. And I believe the company should welcome all kinds of people, even if they are very young. Also, they should be given the opportunity to look at working in any kind of environment. So I think this is what is the challenge that I face. Now, the other challenge what people always face when it comes to on a certain stage of your career is when you are trying to like, for example, you are in a senior post, you want to get into a new post. I think their major role why they leave the company is either because to improve their salary structure big time. If they were offered like double the salary, they may go. The number two is to get a enhanced, a better opportunity to work and create what all experience you have to put it across to your company. I think these are the reasons I believe people go.
Actually, that was not the. This is a very important point that why people quit. That's the point. That okay, that for improving your own skills or improving your salary package, that people jump from one position to other. That's from one organization to other. That is true for sure. I was just focusing more on what shall when you're looking for work. Suppose you find an ad, and what are the problems that we face during that time. That was largely my question here. And I was basically
If you will
arriving at.
allow me,
Yes, please, Kat, please, yeah.
yeah, if you will allow me, Doctor, when
Yes,
we
please.
apply for a new job, I think the location of the job, the offer of the job, the country itself, the legal issues, all it will affect our decision about that job, whether to go to it or not.
Right, right. Okay, all right, perfect.
And
I,
also the nature of it's the nature of the job itself. Um, Also, I feel like when we are applying for a job, as my friend said, they ask first for the experience. How many years of experience do you have? How many certificates? What are the certificates? From where are the certificates? Our background certificates also affect our job selection.
All right. Okay. Excellent. All right. Somebody was wanting to speak in between, I guess. Mm, no? All right. Wonderful. So,
Yeah.
yes, please. Yeah.
Sorry. Just to add, it could be from the candidate side, the
Yes.
response time that you come from the company.
All right.
I mean, this could be sometimes a challenge for the employee, that they don't know if I'm going to be interviewed, I mean, part of the process, so I can
Yes.
apply, but then there's no response time at all, or it could
Yes.
be response in a few weeks.
Right.
That-
Wonderful. So these are some challenges definitely. So basically, I was coming at some the same what you guys have mentioned in here. Number one was what the lady here mentioned, that we don't know how it is going to be, what part of the country, what part of the world, and what are the rules in that particular country. So those factors could be there. Jobs do not match your skills. Okay, now the problem what happens largely is that there is no clarity on what needs to be done at the job most of the time. Yes, there are big designations, definitely. Big roles have been, advertised, but there is no clarity on what is being done. And that the reason of all of this is that there is not very good job analysis which is done from the organization's point of view. Okay, so there's poor job analysis. And when we say job analysis, we basically mean two important aspects of it. That is the job specification and the job description. Does anybody know the difference between these two? Job specification and job description. What are these? Okay, so
Okay.
yes, please.
So job description is the basically what is the job that needs to be done, the rules and responsibilities that the person needs to perform. And the specification is more about what are the skills required to do this job.
Yeah, so
Kind of,
specification, yes, absolutely. So specification is about the person part of the job, right? The person, whoever is taking up the role, the employee, what are the skills required, the qualifications required is the specification part of it. The description is more to do with the different job aspects of the job at work. So job description and specification are the two important parts of job analysis which is required to be done. Now, job analysis is a very important element of any job. And when it comes to an advertising of the job, this becomes a very, very critical thing. Now, how do we collect information about job analysis is at workplace, obviously. So let's say the role of a regional manager, right? A sales head of a particular region. How do we know what are the different things that the person needs to do? Now, for this, definitely, the interviews are important. Now interviews are one way of looking as an HR manager. If you have to collect information about this particular role, then you can interview obviously the person himself or herself. Then you can interview the bosses, you can interview the people under that particular role. That's interviews can be done. Questionnaires you could give to different people around for the same designation. And observation is a very key element, which involves, we can look at to how this person has to deal with people. Lot of people are involved, and hence you get to know what all things that are done. And then finally, something called as the diaries or the logs, which are maintained by the person in that particular role, helps to identify the job analysis for that particular role. Now, so as we just discussed, that job specification is more about the qualifications or whatever experience is required for a person to be able to perform in that particular job. So those are the job specifications. Now, when we go about writing job descriptions, these are the different elements of writing a job description. Okay, starting with the job identification, more or less like a code in the in so many jobs at workplace. So if you have to write a job description, you definitely need to have an identification code. Then all of this, will be a part of your job description, starting with the summary, the duties and responsibilities, the authority of the incumbent, which basically would talk about who are the people who are under them, whom he or she has to report to, or the role has to report to. Performance, how do you identify performance, right? What will lead to good performance is definitely a part of the job description, has to be a part of the job description, although is barely there. Okay, moving on, this information which is collected through the job analysis is a very, very important information. And unfortunately, not all organizations pay a lot of heed to it because it's a taxing job. It's not something which is easily done. And this information, if you look at it, it is involved at all different levels of work, right? Starting from recruitment to equal employment opportunity compliance, and other stuff, your training, performance appraisal, your compensation. Your salary is decided because of your job analysis and job description. However, not much is done at it's not done in the right manner. Now, there's one important question. Okay, generally, as I said, that not organizations try not to write an accurate description of the job and job specification. The job analysis is not done in the best manner. Uh, could you tell me why wouldn't an organization develop such accurate descriptions and specifications? Anyone?
I think it depends on the size of the organization. If we're talking about a small company, you will not have these specific and complicated kind of the job descriptions. For bigger organization, this will be like for every job there will be prescribed and defined role initially before even announcing the vacancy.
Mm-hmm. And why would the organization would do that? Why wouldn't the organization do? In a smaller organization, it had rather be easier, no, to write the job description.
Yeah, it will be more simple. It will not be that complicated, or he has to be having many properties, or he's dealing with several clients. In a small organization, it will be mostly one-to-one or one-man show kind of firm. So it doesn't require that very detailed or announcement of the job descriptions. Mm-hmm. And sometimes they're using the same stuff to do several things. Yeah. I know some people who's doing PR work and HR, and sometimes he goes and delivers something. So it depends on the size of the organization.
It depends upon the size of the organization that they will not. All right. Anything else? Anyone? Any other viewpoint?
Dr.
Yes,
Dr.
please.
Pragya, sorry to interrupt. There is a student called Lisa. She's trying to get into our class. Apparently, she can only see the link of the other one, which has about 2 participants. So she's not able to come. So if somebody in Swiss, I mean in ATMS, could direct
okay,
her.
just a minute. Maybe I can call her. Is it possible? What is her name? What did you say?
Lisa. Lisa.
Lisha.
Lisa.
Lisa. Let me. Lisa. This is the name. Is that the name?
Yeah. Yeah.
Let me request her to join. Is it? I hope she's been sent the invite. Did she join? I guess so.
Yeah, she joined. Okay.
She's joined. Lisa, are you here?
Yeah.
Is it sorted?
Hi. Yeah, I managed to join. Thank you.
All right. Anybody else has an issue, please let me know. I can help them join. Like, this is a way I know I can help them join. All right. Okay. Yes, we were okay. All right. So and any viewpoint else? Okay, let me just we just discussed that why job descriptions and specifications. It's a tough thing to do, and the gentleman here just mentioned that in bigger organizations everything is precisely planned, and however in small organizations it is not the case. It's not done that in that correct manner. To a great extent, it is definitely the HR competency which gets affected, which does not help people identify the correct analysis, and we end up in trouble. Also, there is a lot of line managers involvement while you are designing your description and specification, and line managers, as we all know, they're always busy. But most importantly, if you look at it, it's about the de-jobbing aspect of work these days, right? De-jobbing is a basically, or boundarylessness, as Jack Welch of the GE would have mentioned, that we are now looking at boundaryless work, right? We do not have specific compartments, straitjacket compartment where you are going to do only this. And especially as we just discussed a while before, that with pandemic, the things have changed completely, and its scenario has changed. So we are expanding our range of work. We are expanding our skills, and everything is just going boundaryless. So because of that, to a great extent, job description and specifications are not very strict, tightly designed. However, unfortunately, yet again, lot much can be done when there is no specified description and no specified specification, right? So to keep things in a loose manner is always better, so as much more can be done. It's unfortunate, but yes, a lot more advantage can be taken off when it is not in the correct format. Anyway, let's move ahead. All right, so linking employers' plans to the HR plans, and from HR plans, we are discussing largely about the personnel, and perhaps we'll look into personal plans. We're talking about the recruitment and maybe training and development as well today. All right. The steps in the recruitment and selection process, we all know this. There's not much to be discussed with respect to the select steps in the recruitment process, right? You forecast and you build a pool of candidates. And here, eventually, after your selection is over, you have the right employee. Okay. Okay. Now, this is something interesting, which we start with while we are, looking into your recruitment. So as an organization, we just discussed that have a strategic aim. The organization has a goal, and based on that goal, strategic HR plans are framed. And based on that, now we know that, okay, for say the 5x, we need to increase our talent pool currently. This is what we have, X is what we have, and we need to take it to say 2x or 3x in the coming 2 years. So basically, that's the amount of people that we need. Now, in order to get to that, there is something called as the recruitment yield ratio. So it's a metric. And I hope you all understand what different metrics are. They help you, there's some simple formulas, simple calculations, which help you identify how well you are doing in the recruitment process, or otherwise there are different HR metrics as well. All right, so let's look at this recruitment yield pyramid. This is coming from Gary Dessler. Gary Dessler being the key HRM author, and his book has been shared to you on your site. If you look at it, this is basically if you need some 50 hires, you got to generate about 6:1, so 1,200 leads are generated, and then from here a few of them are invited, some of them are interviewed. Then 2:1 is the ratio for the offers that are made. More technically, as in the current trends, if you talk about the yield ratio, it basically means that the number of offers that you have made, to arrive at that, what is the number of applications that you had to go through. Okay. Now, in the current picture that you see here, it is 0.8, which is 2/250 into 100. Okay. Now, that's a 0.8% of yield ratio. Now, could you please tell me what does it exactly, understand by this? Any idea on if the ratio is 0.8, then how well is your recruitment going on? Could you suggest something here? Any ideas here about the yield ratio? Does anybody use it? Or is it a metric which is just for the academic purpose?
I can, from my side, I think it's because I'm dealing with this kind of, numbers every day. But I would say 250 applicants. I think for me more reasonable, because nowadays I think for one, let's say one job post, you find around over sometimes 1,500 or 2,000. So it's not easy to go through all unless you have Boolean search and all this. But always you will miss also some applicants.
Correct.
But on the other side, I know in other countries they have very good numbers where they can go through them, like similar to this number. So this way you can easily shortlist the right candidate.
All right. Okay. Excellent. So yeah, so I hope it is clear to everybody else as well that you start with 250 and then you do some screening and then first round of interviews and then you use some test and here you look into case study and then you move on to eventually you move on to making offers. Now, how do we calculate the yield ratio is actually very simple. It's very simple. It's basically coming from finance background. However, it makes a very important HR metric. So the number of candidates, that, results from the stage, divided by the number of candidates that have passed through the stage, that over number of people who have passed and then who are, who have come out of this is a yield ratio largely. Now let's look at it. If you total 150 people who have applied on your 150 is a really sad number, but it's these days it will be 15,000 instead of 150, 150 at least 1,500 minimum. That should be the trend. And out of this, if you say, there are only 10 people who could make it to the final round of interview, and in that, if you have 9 of them are male, your calculation would look like this, right? That, out of 150, 10 were the ones who made it to the final interview. So its yield ratio is just 6.6%. When it comes to looking at the female yield ratio, this is going to be really sad because out of the 10 people, 9 of them are male, and hence the entire female ratio would be just 0.9%, right? So this is quite an indicative of how sad or bad your organization is doing with respect to employing the women. Okay, now why do we calculate the yield ratio? Anyone? Why do we need to get into such metrics unnecessarily? What's the point of it?
Sometimes it's good to show also to the hiring manager your I mean the ratio that has done or the number of people that you have screened so far. So just because I mean I don't know from other people, with my experience, always the hiring manager wants more candidates to see, basically more candidates.
So you see more candidates, or you show it to the line manager so that you impress the line manager for sure. You get to see more candidates. I didn't get that part of it. What do you
No,
mean
I
by
mean with the ratio, it's I think it will be more convincing for the hiring manager that's you have seen a lot of candidates rather than for him, because he will be involved only in the last stage, which could be the last maybe
Right.
5 or 10.
Right.
So, but however, you already have done your work, means went through the 200, in this example, the 250 screened people, basically.
Yes. So you can show it to the line manager that, the line manager is convinced that, okay, that's one important point. Anything else that you could think of that when we calculate the yield ratio, what is its significance? What else can yield ratios, or rather for that matter, ratios of any kind help us with? Anyone? Yes, please.
I didn't probably understand what is the um, quality of candidates who have been approached, who we have shortlisted, and out of them, how many are them which are of not quality, and how efficiently we have screened them. And as you say, you were able to identify how many ladies have come on board to apply, how many of them were men, how many with this experience, how many with that experience. I think that kind of graph can be given. That's why I think yield ratio will help.
Absolutely, bang on there. Absolutely. So the yield ratio is a nice metric which actually tells you how effective your system or recruitment is working, right? It gives you an idea of, how it can even help you identify the different bottlenecks that you may have in the entire process of recruitment. Okay, so it's definitely is if it's a way of identifying the effectiveness. So if 1,000 CVs have been submitted and just 2% of them have been able to pass, this definitely means that it's you did not attract many qualified candidates. You attracted definitely your advertisement is it's you definitely could attract people, but not the more qualified people. So it could also definitely signify that the market is weak. Like in current scenario, so many people would be applying for jobs for whatever job that comes up. But how many of them have passed the screening phase? It implies that it's definitely not the qualified people are being attracted. Also, if you look at it, that it can help you identify the bottlenecks, right? So that let's say what is the time to hire is again one of the metric that is very important in a recruitment metric that could now while you are in this process. I think in the first place somebody mentioned that what are the when I was discussing the challenges of looking into a job, then somebody mentioned that we don't know how many, whether we are being interviewed, how much time is going to be taken, right? So if the in the yield ratio, if the time that has taken turns out to be high, which means that there must be some interviewer, somebody who's on the panel who's not setting the right set of expectations, and he or she is eliminating a lot of important candidates. So that could be one, again, a way in which you can help the process. Now, identifying bias, yield ratio helps identify the bias also. Now, like we discussed the male and the female, just right up in the last slide, that that a 0.9% was the female yield ratio, which indicates that how well we are recruiting our women in the organization. So that could just give a metric which helps us find that. Okay, so that's one way. Now, if you look at it, these are the different recruiting metrics other than the yield ratio, and these help us identify whether our recruitment process is going on well or not, right? Starting with the first year attrition is very important here, right? So it's basically first year attrition would mean that number of people who have joined, number of people who have left within the year divided by the total number of people who joined, right? So if people are leaving in the first year of attrition, what do you think is the, what does it indicate?
The quality of the hire.
Quality of hire?
Means people maybe in
No,
the wrong job or something.
No, if they are leaving, if the candidate is leaving, not the company is throwing out the candidate. If the candidate is leaving, that means the company is not handling the candidate properly, or maybe the
Correctly.
line manager is not able to effectively working. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. And if you look at it, there is not just first year attrition. It's mentioned first year attrition here, but I guess somewhere there is attrition based on the line manager. So line manager is also assessed on how much attrition has happened under him or her within that year. That talks about the line manager's work skills, right? So that quality of hire would depend. If you can assess the quality of hire again based on the performance of the hire. But first year attrition will talk about the work culture, the line manager, etc. Okay, so these are the different metrics which generally, are there to assess your recruitment skills. Something very important is time to getting to OPL. OPL basically is largely about how do you reach the, optimum performance level, sorry, what time you take to reach that. And when we say optimum performance level is the best performance that the individual can give, so how much time have you taken in there? And then there is cost of getting to the OPL. So cost could involve definitely, your training, your onboarding process. Your onboarding would rather be same for everyone, but what all trainings that the person had to go through and how much time has gone in until he or she has reached his or her optimal performance level. So these are very important metrics which talk about. Now, okay, offer acceptance rate. What do you think this indicates, offer acceptance rate? This is simple. We don't have much choices these days, but offer acceptance rate, what do you think it indicates?
Hi, doctor. I think it means the compensation.
Bang on, absolutely. Offer acceptance rate means that number of people who accept your offer divided by the total number of offers that you have made. An offer, generally people do not accept an offer when they don't feel that the compensation is worth it, right? So it indicates your compensation level, definitely. All right, excellent. Let's go ahead. Well, when you talk about finding the internal candidates, you have a lot of options. We all understand these. You have the different human resource information systems as well, right? Where you can have the list of candidates already ready, and it keeps on moving as and when people are moving out or joining in, right? And so this is what we all understand, I guess, job posting and then rehiring from the the earlier employees who have left. So looking at the outside sources of candidates are very many, and we have recruitment via the internet, advertising, agencies, temporary agencies, a lot of stuff. And these days we know the key thing that largely is social media, right? We do recruit a lot. In fact, most of it is being done now with social media. And then referrals and walk-ins are also very important part of it, because referrals are important because you can trust the candidate because he or she has been referred by your known source. So that is a very important source of getting outside candidates. I don't think we have to spend enough time on this. There's no point of it. Some obvious advantages or disadvantages. Hiring from within, I think one of the major weakness is that you continue to have those set mindsets continue in the same place again and again. So inbreeding continues to work, and it does not bring fresh ideas. So that's something which is a major disadvantage. The advantage obviously is that he or she understands the entire culture of the organization, right? So you have their meaning making systems, they know yours, and hence you don't require enough training and orientation is not required. So that way those are the advantages of hiring from within. E-recruitment, lot of advantages for sure. E-recruitment, because it simply widens up your source and it creates so much of headache for the guys who are looking after recruitment, because as the gentleman just mentioned that for one app post there are about 1,000 applicants that are coming up. So you have to go through all of these. It increases the applicant pool by manyfold. And yeah, the disadvantages, as we just discussed, is just mentioned that a lot of people, so it's an issue there. Okay, because of the fact that you have so many candidates, the problem happens is that the qualified candidates gets missed out, and it's been a trouble with many people who would who largely, if you look at for faculties as well, the institutes open up their sites, and I'm talking about personal experiences, and they just ask for applicants over the website. And a lot of times that the qualified candidates are missed out because so many applications just keep coming in. Okay, social media in recruiting. Yes, there are lots of advantages, and these days, more than recruitment, the social media is used to identify the issues that we may have with the possible future employees, right? So they look into the entire post, they look into the entire Facebook, they do the cross checks. Everything is done just to more than recruitment, social media has become the source of laying off people, kicking them out of the organization because it's not matching the culture. All right. Okay, why is it important? It's kind of understood. There's no point of talking about that. Okay. Now, while we are talking about selection is important, testing is definitely very, very important, right? And there are two basic concepts of testing, starting with the word reliability, okay? Now, what does the word reliability would mean to you? The word reliability. Very simple language, reliability.
Trust.
Anyone? Trust.
Trustworthy.
Trustworthy, all right. Okay, anything else?
How long the employee will be with the same company?
Not really, actually. So when we say the word reliability, reliable, something which is reliable, uh, sorry?
Dependable.
Dependable is the word. All right, dependable. Okay. So if you look at
Meeting
this
the
long
facts
time,
and not
sorry,
imaginary, just meeting the facts and the needs.
meeting the facts and the needs. Okay. Now, reliable, the word, when we say something is reliable or dependable, or when you say that you can trust something, is basically that, the person, he or she is, when you can only trust a person who is doing the same, you can predict his or her behavior, right? His or her behavior is not something unpredictable. Like when we, in our old times, fan of one of the cricketers, Indian cricketers, okay, say his name is Rahul Dravid. He was supposed to be a dependable or a reliable cricketer, reliable batsman. Why? Because he would ensure that he would not hit huge centuries or huge sixes and fours and nothing like that. But he would not be a flashy player, but he will be a dependable player. He would at least ensure some 40, 50, 30, 40, 50 runs definitely would come out from his bat. So he was always consistent with his performance. So that is something we all referred him as a dependable batsman, a reliable batsman, because he would continue to do the same thing again and again. Now, when we have to test something, we say that, test, let's say for selection, if we have to, use a particular measure of test, then we need to have reliable tests, right? So that we know that, let's say, for example, let's say we take an example. I take up an IQ test, okay, an intelligent quotient test, and I get a score of, say, 80 out of 100 in the evening, and I get a score of 60 out of 100 in the afternoon, and say I get 20 out of 100 in the early morning. Now, this does not mean that my intelligence level is changing with the mood swings that I may have through the evening or throughout the day. It does not definitely mean that my intelligence level will remain the same. However, it may mean that the test that I'm using is not a reliable test because it's not giving me the same result every time. So one of the basic concepts of testing is reliability, that it gives you the same measure, right? So it describes the consistency of scores obtained by the same person when retested with the identical or alternate forms of the same test. So that's what a reliable test is, okay? It could be any form of a test. Suppose you use, let's say, a psychological test for somebody for selection purpose. There are a lot of psychological tests which are used. Or you could use an on-the-job test, right, where you're asking the person to do the active acts of the job, tasks involved in the job. But if your results are not stable over time, then it is not a reliable test. That's the key thing about the testing, which testing that you are using for selecting your candidate. Another important factor could be validity. Okay, now validity, it does not basically talk about we talk about phone validity, and it has got nothing to do with time. Validity is, as we understand, if your test is measuring what it is supposed to measure, then your test is supposed to be a valid test. Now, taking the same example of the intelligence IQ test, in an IQ test, what kind of questions should be there? Anyone? Okay. Do you think in an IQ test there will be questions like what is my height, what is my weight, how well can I run? Yes or no? Oh, please, everybody, are you all sleeping now? We will take a quick
We are
break.
not sleeping. No,
There
we are
will
not
be
sleeping.
no such questions.
Right, we will not have such questions, right? So the idea is that the test should measure what it is supposed to measure. So an IQ test will involve definitely questions on, say, my general mental ability, intelligence in the math questions, English, right? Verbal questions. So that's what it is. So if your test is actually measuring, so there are a lot of, ACDCs programs, which are assessment center programs, which involve a lot of testing. And for those programs, the reliability and validity are really important concerns, right? You have to ensure the HR or the people who are designing those tests have to ensure that they are both reliable and valid at the same point in time. All right. Selection devices that generally are used. Okay, these are the different ones. And talking about just a second before. When we talk about reliability and validity, a very important question is how do we measure these for a particular test, right? So let's say, for example, if you have taken up a questionnaire for testing and selecting the candidate that you have chosen, then how do we identify that the questionnaire is reliable? Okay, that's a very important thing. Now these days it's become very, very simple. Okay, in simple act of MS Excel or SPSS, your statistical softwares, you can calculate something which is called as Cronbach alpha, simple formula which you can simply enter the values and you get the entire reliability quotient of the particular questionnaire. So that's how you calculate reliability. When it comes to validity, in research largely there are different forms of validity, but mostly which is used is something which is called as face validity. Now, face validity basically means that on the face of it, okay, how does the questionnaire look like? Does the questionnaire look like that it is going to measure what it is supposed to measure? Then it has face validity. So you have to show the questionnaire to the experts in the field, right? Those who have been working in that field, you have to show that questionnaire to those people and they will help you identify, okay, these questions are relevant, so other questions are not relevant, and you may include other aspects of the work. So they will help you decide whether it has face validity or not. Okay, moving ahead, talking about the different selection devices. So, if you look at it, there are these are the levels of how well they are valid. Now, if you look at it, just general mental ability, largely, if you know the predicting performance, it shows 0.51. And most important here, if you see, the method is a work sample test which helps predict the job performance. Do you get it here? That these are the different selection devices, and here is the validity, whether how well they predict the job performance. So the best that predicts the job performance is a work sample test, that the actual tasks of the job are given to the person, and then that's the score. Now, I would like to know what are the different selection ways that you guys use and share mine itself in the field of academics. One of the ways they select the faculty is that they ask for a demo. Okay, so they ask for us to pick up any topic of our choice and give them a demonstration of how we would, spend those interact with people in say 15-20 minutes and talk about the topic. What are the different ways in which we will introduce the topic, how well we will speak, what is the presentation skills, how well we know our subject, etc. So that's a work sample test, again in a different way. So that's how. Is it all okay so far? Hello, I'm just talking to my screen. I don't know.
Yes, doctor.
All right.
Yes, yes.
Thank you. I need to hear some few things here.
Majority
All
are
right.
in the rabbit
This
mode
is
now.
sorry.
Majority are in the rabbit mode.
Majority of the people are in the
Rabbit
mode. I am the one.
Rabbit.
Yeah, I'm the one who's being the crocodile here. I don't like that at all, unfortunately. Okay, now it's over to you guys, okay? Now tell me what you see in the picture here. What do you see? Please become a little crocodile now. Let me relax.
Here there is a picture of an old lady.
Generation.
Vaccine. But on the front scene is how she looks like in front of others. So what's her abilities or what her capabilities which is shown to the others. But in fact, from inside, I think, I don't know, but I'm feeling like that there is the front scene for people, for others, but all ladies are weak and between themselves, they will have so many weak points and they will be just crushed.
Oh my God. All right. So you're saying this, the first part of it is what this lady presents to the world. And the what is inside is that she has some weaknesses and oh my God. All right. Beautiful. What is your name, ma'am?
I am Raika Al-Kurdi.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Anything else? Hello.
I think it just emphasizes that she's young in front, and she has very good experience in the background, so she understands things much better because she's a bit more older in heart. So she could do stuff, although she looks young and she may perceive that she's young, but she's very matured.
She may perceive that she's young and she's very mature. All right, very nice. Okay. Some more points here. Some few more. Anybody else who wants to share looking at this
If you
picture?
apply
We can
this
even
on
put
the
that
organization,
Okay, please, one at a time, please.
carry
Yeah.
Okay, so if we apply this picture on an organization, let's say you have an organization with front image as a young and spirit, but when you go in details, maybe the management has very old thinking or not up to the mark or up to the technology. So this also can be translated if you're talking about organization.
All right, sir. I forgot your name. I only remember
It's
you are
Muhammad
the
Radi.
HR guy, right?
No, Nabil is the HR guy. I'm Radi from local bank.
Okay. All right. All right. Okay, because it came from the perspective of the organization. So I thought maybe you were the HR guy. All right. Wonderful. Anyone, somebody else was wanting to say something quickly.
maybe the front picture showing some that by person is look like a new, but the idea is very old.
Idea is old, the person will look like new. All right, so beautiful. This is basically yet another form of selection test that has been or used largely used by psychologists as well. This is a part of assessment centers and development centers big time. And this is called as a TAT, a thematic perception test, wherein a person is shown a particular picture and the person is asked to narrate a story or say something about this picture. So there was very beautiful points that came up today that the person has weaknesses inside and but she portrays to the world that she is all young and strong, while the other person, somebody said that she may appear to be young but she is far more experienced and she has a lot of knowledge within inside her. So beautiful points that came up. And the idea from this particular test is that the person is not talking about the picture, the person is rather talking about themselves. Okay, so that they make some either psychologists or rather the psychoanalysts, they make a lot of judgment based on these. I am not a psychoanalyst at all, so please don't expect me. All right, what do you see in this picture?
Actually, when I looked at this picture, I have seen this picture before.
All right.
So first thing came to my mind. My experience is nursing. So the pelvic bone.
Sorry, what is it?
The pelvic bone. The anatomy
The
of the
pelvic
pelvic
bone.
bone is
Yes, very much. The pelvic bone.
exactly like
Absolutely.
this.
It's exactly like that. So true. The pelvic bone is totally, the structure is totally looks like this. So true. Yes. So perfect. So it falls into your, scheme of things. All right. Wonderful. Anything else? When I
Yes,
show
the technique.
I now
morning.
I'm looking to it in a different way. Can I say?
Yeah.
What can I see? Just like I'm imagining one huge bird which has two big wings on the on the top.
Ah, one huge bird with wings. All right. Okay. All right. Okay. Anyone else? No?
Yes, good
It
morning.
looks like a bat.
It looks like a bat. Okay. Yes, ma'am. You were saying something. Hello? Somebody.
To me, it looks like three people. It's like a dance performance, and two of them are hanging on his hand while one is rotating in the between. I don't know, that kind of something.
Now that's quite an imagination on a Friday morning and then boarding an online class. Quite an
Thank
imagination.
you.
When I show this picture to some of these young boys and girls, they just talk, "Oh, ma'am, it looks like a dragon, you know, and it's a monster, and it's like a cave, and it looks like a." It's so many things come up with this. Again, this is nothing. This is basically called as an ink blot test. If it is basically nothing, but these are dots of ink which have been placed on a square sheet of paper. This sheet has been folded. If you see the line in between, that's a fold that is there in the paper, and and when the paper is opened, it comes up with a particular picture, and this is called as a Rorschach ink block test. And again, this is used to ask people about what do they think about this picture, and it talks about their feelings at the moment, their what's going inside their mind, largely. So yeah, if it looks like people dancing, then we are in for a hopefully a
I
good
think
time.
Dr.
Yeah.
Prag,
Yes,
I think
please.
Sola was trying to say something.
Yes, please. I cannot see, so please say something, please. I can't see. I'm so sorry. I really can't see. This is the worst part of
I'm saying
technology.
Sola was trying to say something.
Solar, yes, please. Where are you? I can't see. Whoever wants to
I
say
think you
something.
can ask Dr. I'm not Sola, but I think you can ask your organizer that there will be notifications coming to you whenever somebody is raising the hand or somebody is trying to talk. So it will come as a notification for you. This is in the setup of the Microsoft team. They can just adjust it for you.
They can adjust that for me. Okay, all right.
Yes.
Okay, I will do that.
So
Right
a
now.
message that her connection is not stable, so that's the reason she's not able to speak.
Okay, all right. Okay, that's sorted at least. For now, I have got this small minimized this entire screen, so at least I get to see who's speaking, but I don't get to see who's raising hands. I think it will require another screen as a setup, and I don't have another screen. That generally, when I was working with SPGen, I could have two screens and in the institute, and then I could look at the students in one and the slides and the another one. Unfortunately, it's not working like that, so I don't know what to do about it. But for now, let's adjust with whatever we have, and we will hopefully in the next session, if something can be done, we will definitely speak to the organizer. Okay? All right, so this is basically again the ink blot test. And another set of selection tests that we use are the personality tests. So one very important personality test is the Big Five model. So Big Five is about the traits that you have, okay? And you have a particular questionnaire and you are identified, you have to answer those questionnaires, and through that we identify whether you are high on extroversion, on neuroticism, openness to experience, and agreeableness and conciseness. Now, what do you think if you have to identify somebody, if you have to pick up somebody from as in the position of a leader? What are the qualities that you should look at uh, from these five important factors? Which of the two you think will be important?
Hi, Doctor.
Yes, please.
Yeah, I think it's extraversion. and emotional stability.
Extraversion and emotional stability, which is important for a leader. All right. Okay. I see NM, and you are the HR guy?
Yeah, Nabil, yeah.
Nadil, okay, Nadil is the HR guy. Wonderful. So Nadil is saying extraversion and emotional stability is what you will look at. All right, okay, Nadil. And let's have one more viewpoint and then see if we can, discuss this. Anybody else wants to add to this? What are the yes?
I think the consciousness and emotional stability is the most important two things in a leader.
Conscientiousness and emotional stability. Okay, okay, is what you are saying. R.A. I don't get to see the name. Okay, so all
Raisha.
right. Raisha. Okay, Raisha is saying conscientiousness and emotional.
Raika. Q.
Raika. All right. All right. Sorry, dear. So, okay. All right. I don't even have the list of the students so that I could have actually seen your names through that, but I don't have that with me. Never mind. I think we will organize and let's be more, more smooth in interaction next time. Okay, all right. And okay, so what Nadil and Raika have mentioned that emotional stability definitely is an important factor, which when it comes to finding the leaders. But you know what, to your surprise, the research says that the two important factors which make a great leader are extraversion and openness to experience. Okay, and it's not emotional stability. It's not, it doesn't really, if you look at it, man, so many leaders, neurotic leaders, so many of them. But why openness to experience is something which is needs to be paid a little attention. How do you differentiate between a leader and a manager? What is the key difference? Quickly.
Taking risks.
Leader?
Yeah.
It's who takes risks and who is willing to experience new things.
Yeah,
and who's
there
willing
you go, girl.
and
There you go.
change.
Yes. So the key difference between a leader and a manager is that a manager always tries to maintain the status quo. Whatever is happening is all right. Okay, let this be this way. However, the leader is the one who brings about a change, and he or she is the one who takes risks. And you can take risks only when you are open to new experiences, right? So when your openness to experience is high and your extroversion is high, those are the two important characteristics which are required when we are looking for a leader, right? So this is another model. The Big Five is a very important personality test which is used in in selecting the candidates. And so we've discussed a few. We've looked into thematical perception test. We looked into some ink blot test, this one, and there's some other questionnaires which are largely used. Work samples and definitely simulations are there, right? There are, like I mentioned, that work sample for the case of a faculty, we are asked to do a demo. So that's a work sample that, you have to present all the time. And then there are management assessment centers, video-based testings, and, you know, small simulations that are there, which are used for measuring your work performance. All right. Yeah, that's a good question, right? How has it changed due to pandemic? How has the recruitment changed during the pandemic? What do you think has been the key change in your recruitment and selection in your
Actually,
organization?
in all the organizations, I think there was no new recruitment.
Ah, that
They have stopped the recruitment.
that is it. That is it. That there is no.
Not necessary. Not necessary.
Uh-huh.
IT sector, online businesses have recruited a lot of people. A lot of the companies who are not into IT and online sales, they started getting on board these related marketing and sales people. And even in my organization, I mean, there was some cancellations in the beginning, but I think after the 6 months down the lane, I think we started recruiting. I'm still looking for people.
Ah, wonderful. Wonderful. Yeah. So the rich is getting richer. The online businesses,
Hi,
Bezos is getting richer, richer, richer. Right. Yes. Yes. Somebody is saying something.
hi, Doctor.
I,
This is
I,
Tahsin. this is my
Yes, please.
first course in MBA. I think
Okay.
the new thing they add work from home.
Mhm.
That's the new thing they added.
Yes. So, okay. All right. If you look at it, the trends that if you were to look at the 2021 trends that is there for recruitment and selection, uh, definitely work from home is one of the key aspects of working changes. But when we're talking about recruitment, most of them have stopped, but online businesses definitely are doing very well and hence are recruiting. So fair enough. Largely, even if the recruitment has to happen, if you look at it, the virtual technologies are the ones which the organizations are adopting. Now, see, Jen, please do not consider my slides as a good presentation thing in here, because my slides have a lot of content, and the content is largely for my students or my audience to use it as a ready reckoner. So there will be a lot of content. I'm not using only bullet points in here because it's going to be, you can refer to it directly. You don't even need to open the book. So that way, if there is a lot of content, it's going to be coming up in the slides to come as well. So what we were just saying is that, we are moving off working from home, and hence the virtual recruiting technologies are also becoming a big focus. And furthermore, this basically this entire data is coming from one of the researches that has been done around 28 countries on over 1,500, HR guys who are involved in talent acquisition. And this is basically through the LinkedIn site that, we got this particular report. Okay. So basically, virtual hiring is here to stay, right? So you're gonna be hired on a virtual platform mostly. Now, there are different challenges of virtual hiring. There are different challenges of working on the virtual platform, but then we do not have a choice as of now. And still don't know when it is going to start, but it's going to start. And once it starts, it has to open up, because human beings are social animals and we need the touch of people, right? So we will definitely go back to work. In this part of the world, definitely we have already started to, but otherwise we will everywhere else as well. Now, one important aspect is that companies will emphasize on internal hiring, right? Because of the fact that people have been laid off and people have ended up in a loss of jobs. So if there is something which comes up, it has to be done through the internal processes only. Now, the reason being that if people start recruiting from outside candidates, it's going to be a hell of a loss of motivation, a loss of morale for the people within the organization. Hence, it's really important that, internal hiring and internal mobility is going to be there. Okay, it's up 20% since the onset of COVID-19. So that's something which is definitely going to stay. Now, all right, it's again about, organizations are reducing their, training budget, but what they are largely doing is that they are focusing more on, you know, yeah, internal mobility. And if you look at it, they are focusing largely on not just, it's not a time to build talent, right? So it is, you have to look into people who are on a contingency basis, right? You can have, as we discussed in the initial stage also, that, temporary businesses, temporary headcount, temporary people on the shelf are going to be out. So a lot of temporary stuff is going to be there. And recruiters will have to definitely pay a lot of attention on these three elements: diversity, equity, and inclusion. Definitely inclusion is going to be key thing in here, because right now we could recruit from across, because we are working in the virtual platform, so we can include all kinds of people, definitely. And inclusion and diversity, we don't have to emphasize its importance. It brings different perspectives to work, so it's going to be there. Now, furthermore, it is mentioned that, recruiters are going to expand their skill sets, and they have to. And if you look at it, if you're going to stay virtual recruiting, then you need to really expand your skills in terms of virtual interviewing, right? It becomes a key thing, also virtual onboarding, it becomes very, very critical. Now, the this is such a tiny difference between a great person who is a great quality hire that you may have, and another person who may not be great quality, but there is a difference in their interview because of the technology or because of the medium, because of the internet issues. You may feel that this person is not not speaking well, not confident, because of the person not being comfortable on the virtual medium. So that becomes a key skill. The interviewer, the recruiters, the HR has to develop virtual interviewing skills and also virtual onboarding skills, etc. Right? So that becomes really key thing in here. Okay, reaching the final interview is very important, and as we just discussed, that it becomes all the more important when you have virtual interviewing. It cannot be as simple as the IKEA job interview, right? You just pick up and you make your own seat. So these are some of the examples. We'll quickly take a break and just let's finish this topic. So there are some situational questions, background questions, and all of this is there. This is for your reference. You can take a look at all of this or later on at your disposal whenever you are free. So, okay, okay. Let's just quickly take up this particular thing. So say you have a regional sales manager job, okay? What questions are you going to ask to this person in the final interview? Or how are you going to assess, the skills of strategic thinking? How are you going to, look into analytical thinking, whether this person can become a general manager? How are you going to assess these skills? Over to you all.
You want the answer now or after the break?
Okay. Do you want to take the break right now? I don't mind
Yes,
that. It's 10. All right. Okay.
just let
Please.
us think about it. Yeah.
All right. You can think about this question, and we take a break of how much time? How much time do you want to take the break for? 5 minutes.
Usually
20
we
minutes.
take like 15 minutes.
15 minutes? Oh my God. Let's take a break of say 10 odd minutes. 10 minutes will be okay. Yeah? We meet at say 10, it's 10, 6, 10, 16 we meet. Is it okay?
Okay, got it.
All right,
Okay.
thank you very much. Okay, we meet in 10, 16. All right. Do you generally get a 15-minute break, is it?
Yes, we are here.
Yeah, I see. Okay. I think if you want to continue, it's okay. Otherwise,
That's fine. We already agreed on 10:16. We are here.
yes, of course. I know, I heard.
Yeah, we
All
are.
right.
Yeah, we are back.
Okay, wonderful. So, yes, okay, great. I did not know that you get a 15-minute break. I will ensure that we have the full 15-minute break. I have some content I would have, even if I don't finish, I can take on for the next session. So we have 4 sessions together. Generally, there is a 6-hour program also. I take that mostly. And,
संडास laundry है ना उसका 103 floor.
wonderful. Okay. So in the 6-hour program, we have a 2-hour break in between. So what we do is that in 1.5 hours, we take a break of 5 minutes. And that's generally I was used to 5-7 minutes. But I did not know that you take a 15-minute break in the 4-hour program. So all right, we will do that next time. And let's continue with our question here. So this is a question that we have. And I was asking simply that what kind of questions, in the final interview, if you had to interview somebody and you have to recruit for the position of the regional sales manager, how will you assess the strategic thinking bit of it?
For me, basically, I will have two major questions. The first one, how the candidate can rate our organization and what other thing he can change. That's the first thing. What new thing he can bring to our organization.
What new things that he or she can bring to the organization? Okay, all right. So that is how are you going to assess the strategic part of it?
Mainly, yes.
All right. Okay. Okay. Anything else? Anybody else?
I mean, we could ask situational questions and check his ability to solve problems and challenges, and how is he going to involve the team in the solution, and whether is he a good leader, or is he a self problem solver.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so when you say a problem solver, or if you can say a leader, or let's say self-awareness becomes a very critical skill. How do you assess that?
You would see in his answer whether he's saying, I would do this and I would lead and I would come up with this, rather than saying my team and I'll check with the team and I will see the ability of the team. So it's in the answer whether he would use a lot of I or we.
Yes. Okay. All right. Wonderful. I or we. That's one of the keys of identifying. Okay. Great. Great. Any other ideas other than this? Anything else? What makes somebody a strategic thinker? What makes it? What makes someone somebody who thinks strategy? What kind of keywords like I and we you mentioned here? Rafika mentioned Raika, right? Okay. What things? What can what keywords would you look into when you're looking at somebody who's a strategic thinker?
I think maybe you can just think about the kind of SWOT analysis just to see what are the issues that we have today, and what are the things that you want to improve later, what are the priorities. So this way, I think he can pave the way. We could really try to see then how he's his critical thinking.
Understand. Okay, how he or she understands the SWOT part of it, the SWOT analysis he or she can do. If you look at
I
it,
think, Dr.
yes, please. Yeah.
Yeah, I think for the strategic thinker, he will be more initiative and he will not wait for the things to come to him. He will be taking the step forward, and he will be thinking abroad, in an innovative way, creative
Okay.
way.
All right. He has to take an initiative, and that's why there will be he or she can be a strategic thinker if he or she is taking initiative. All right. Okay. When we talk about strategic thinking, largely it's about, how when you talk about strategy is not just based on a particular situation in your organization as of now. It is more about overall understanding of the organization, overall understanding of the entire environment of the organization, right? So the internal environment, the external environment. So the ability to scan the entire process, they scan the entire environment is something which is very important. And that is like, how well can the person, look at it from a zoom out view, and how well can the person zoom in, right? That becomes a very critical strategic thinking, skill that you can try and identify in the person. Analytical thinking, of course, you can give a scenario with a particular situation, and you can ask that, in this scenario, what is it that you're going to do, right? And how well the person connects the dots, how well he or she is able to think and identify the pattern and come out with a solution is definitely analytical thinking. When we speak about self-awareness, definitely Raika mentioned about I and the we definitely is important, that how he or she builds the team, so bring them closer together. That's something which is critical as a leader. Self-awareness, one something which is very important is that how well is a person able to listen to you. Okay, the ability to listen is something which is extremely important when it comes to the role of when it comes to self-awareness. In fact, if you were to know of some of the great organizations which and sent their top leaders for coaching, a simple coaching program is listening skills. Okay, listening skills become a very, very important factor of a leader. Okay, uh, as this talk about Sundar Pichai, they say that this guy, entire meeting he will be quiet, but last minute of the meeting he will just speak one sentence, which will add so much of value to everybody, and it will just be the final word. But through the meeting he is just going to listen to you, and this ability to listen is something which is different. Institutes like INSEAD and Harvard, they do have such training programs on listening skills. Okay, it becomes a key to listen. Now I have myself gone through one of these programs wherein they say that I could just share it right now for you guys for your own benefit. One of the ways they say that if how good a listener you are, what all things you need to do. Just it's outside HRM course, but yes, still just like to share. One of the key things that you can do as a listener is that you just don't have to be quiet. Of course, you have to have the right body language, and you have to look into the eyes, and you have to be a patient, attentive to the person who's talking. But another way could be that you simply paraphrase what the other person has just said. Okay, so let's say, for example, if somebody is saying somebody is worried about their transfer to the another country, and how their family is going to cope up with it. So you don't have to give a solution while you are listening. You don't have to say, oh, don't worry, we're going to fix your, the family, the daughter's education will be fixed, the wife will be sorted, everything. You don't have to say that. In the process of listening, you have to just simply paraphrase. So you could say that, oh, I understand. You mean to say that you're concerned about the education of your child being affected due to the transfer. And then you pause. Now, the moment we paraphrase, what happens is that the other person comes up with more ideas and they want to speak more and more and more. Okay, so in this entire process of your listening ability, it not only helps you as an individual, it also helps the other person speak up their entire issue and come out of it. Okay, now this is something which I learned in a counseling program, but there are different other skills as well which could be used for listening ability. But self-awareness, yes, whether you are aware of your own, I mean, it's a huge thing, right? Who am I, as we started with, right? Self-awareness is a different topic and very close to my heart, although. Okay, so these are definitely some questions which we can look into when we are talking to the person, selecting the person for the role of a regional sales manager, right? So whether this person has a potential to become the GM, this can be identified through the strategic thinking, the analytical skills, the leadership skills, the self-awareness, all of that. Okay, let's go ahead. Yeah, when we say talk about the potential, we do speak about something which is the T model, the T-shaped competencies, or now it has moved ahead of the T-shaped. So we say that potential means that you have the broad and the deep understanding of the subject matter. So if you look at it, the broad and deep understanding skills, one is just I model, okay? That is, you are just a specialist of a particular thing. You don't have a huge breadth of knowledge. So at the start of your career, you definitely may be just a specialist because you've specialized in a particular field. But as you go ahead, you develop that overall general knowledge. So you move from the I-shaped to a T-shaped. And how T-shaped you are depends upon how deep you know your subject, as well as the other overall general knowledge that you have of the organization and the entire industry, right? So this moves from T to pi, and now they're talking about the comb shaped. Oh my God, now that you have to be a specialist in not just one area, but different areas of expertise, different areas of specialists that you have to be along with the overall broad general knowledge, right? So that identifies these competencies, identify your potential, and then eventually, you can assess the person. Finally, once you have identified the person for selection, you obviously have to do the background investigations, to verify so many things. Why it needs to be done, we don't have to even discuss that. The different sources of information are very many. One of the most key these days are the social networking sites, which become the key thing. These days, the credit rating companies also are there, so they can help as well. Now, let's look at this particular scenario. Let's see what we will do in this case. Have you read it? Can I move to the next slide, please?
Yes.
All right. Okay, so there is a person who has, was driving while intoxicated, and the hiring manager is really interested. He's invested in the choice, and he calls the HR to check on the applicant's progress. As an HR professional, What are your main responsibilities and how would you handle this? What would you do? The person does not need to drive while at work. There is no driving is not a part of the key job. He or she has a right set of qualifications and seems to be a competent choice. How would you handle?
I think the overall aspect of person's behavior is important to any organization's ethics and culture. No matter if the person has nothing to do with driving to the company or whatever it is. And if there is any kind of criminal aspects that has come to due to this, I believe definitely HR has to take a step whether we need to take this person or no, and what steps to be taken. I think this is what I would say. Some people can always justify saying that okay, it may have happened due to carelessness, whether we take a call and then probably give them one more chance. It's something that I think the company has to look at. But most of the established companies, I don't think they will proceed with this.
All right. Okay. Any other viewpoint?
Yes, HR professionals, I won't agree that keeping that guys in because he don't have responsibility. Because people knows that with the toxic, if he drive, he can face any uncertainty or something. So why can't we? I mean, what can he do in the work also? I mean, he can do drink or something, and he can come for the job also. Hence he is not having a responsibility.
Absolutely. That word is responsible behavior, right? So how responsible one's behavior if somebody is it can risk their life and just drive while intoxicated, definitely he or she would not be really responsible, would demonstrate responsible behaviors at work as well. So we cannot trust. And as an HR, even though the hiring manager is really excited, but as an HR, the key duty is to definitely reject this candidate. Definitely reject. Wonderful.
But
Oh,
it
yes,
was,
please.
sorry, doctor,
Yeah.
but it was 6 years ago. Yani, I guess it deserved to have another chance. Yeah, it's not
It's been
recent.
6 years ago, and the point is that what you have to then perhaps go through if you are so invested, then you have to go through the entire records of the 6 months. You have to check for all of that. All right, you have to take the burden of ensuring that this has not been repeated. Right, her driving license was revoked for 6 months, but in the recent past, what has been there? If you're so invested, but most of us, I think, would mostly this would be rejected because of in this part of the world. Definitely there is no chance at all. The person will be sent back to the country if he or she is from another country. But even if you are interested, you will have to check the records of the last whatever 6 years, or otherwise it will not be seriously taken, right? Okay. Uh, yeah, there you go. You are now you have been selected. So you're the first day at work. Any experiences of first day at work? How did it go along? And I remember my first job, my first day at work. It was really funny because there was nobody at work. Why? They had gone to a different setup for training, and I was left with one HR person and one new lady, and just empty. We just went through the empty cabins in the institute, and nothing happened, and that was really sad first onboarding process that I started with. Any experiences that you'd like to share, how, if at all, the honeymoon period really continued? For me it did continue for a few. Yes, please.
Yes, in our company, we usually first day we have orientation, a general orientation and a specific orientation depends on the department.
Right.
And for me, I remember my first day, I'm a clinic manager. My first day, all with the upper management, general manager and operation manager, finance, HR. I was only listening, taking information. I was really, they said, you speak or you don't speak at all. Yeah, I was listening. I was taking from them and learning, and it was nice. But usually for my staff, first day is all orientation.
It's all orientation. And as they say that, you are a management trainee. So you are empty. So you are also empty to a great extent that you are always filling in and taking a download from all the people because you are empty. And that's the joke goes around the entire 6 months period of while your training continues, while your onboarding process continues. So you keep listening to what people have to say about the organization, right? Okay.
Listening is the
Yes.
key.
Sorry?
Listening is the key for everything.
Listening is definitely the key for sure. It is not the key here in the class, so please, everybody else, don't just listen, talk also. I get so bored, I get so tired talking all the time. Anyway, okay. On board, when we say that purpose, the orientation is definitely very, very important, and it helps. What is the reason? We all understand that it's a socialization process, largely helps you understand the organization. But this process involves, you have to go through all these, as the lady just mentioned, that you have to meet all these top people, all these, understand the policies, understand the benefits. When can you take leave? When can you come to work? Where is the punching machine? Where is the where is the biometric? All of these, basically, the first day that you get to know the basics. But if you look at orientation and onboarding, there is a huge difference between the two, right? So orientation, it's more about, last 1 or 2 days, but the onboarding process is a far more complex process than just the orientation part of it, right? Here in orientation, you just have to, make them familiar with the key aspects of the work, right? But when it comes to onboarding, this involves few months of the tenure, because here you have to develop relationships, you have to understand the culture and be a part of the organization. That's where the onboarding differs from orientation. In Google, one of the ways that they do onboarding, or when they make the Googlers a part of the organization culture, is that they provide a funny cap to the new people who joined Google, and they are called as the Nooglers. And the idea of this silly cap is to ensure that people understand that work is fun for them. So even though no matter how much criticized they have been for being at work and not sleeping and all of that, but they do consider that the work is, and really the fun part of their life is definitely a part of it is your work. So that's where they are made to wear this funny cap, which is, this is what it looks like, and it has a small fan which moves around. So this is just to help them get into the culture of the organization, right? That's what it is, as an example. Uh, yeah, what do you think when we talk about orientation and we talk about onboarding? We understand that concerns of the new joinee definitely is that, okay, where are the benefits? How can I take the holiday? Whom do I have to report to? All of these are the small concerns. What else do you think a new joinee what are the apprehensions of a new joinee other than these few basic ones? Something more deep.
Doctor, I think the culture, the dynamic of the working environment.
The dynamics of the working environment. Okay. As in, can you just elaborate on this a little more, sir?
Yeah, so basically, what's the work culture is like at the organization? How is the interaction with the teams? Is there like, working across departments or teams, collaborations and such?
Right. What are the different ways of working? Right. All right. Okay. Excellent. Okay. Anything else? Anything else that Anybody
What
wants to share?
also, yeah, what also can be useful for the new joiner is basically some the small things that people well, they will appreciate. It could be some small things like where do you go for what time you go for the pantry, what you go for, you know, if you want to go for printer or just for IT, where to go, who's the person who can help on this, because not everything you can ask you know, the line manager, because always he's busy,
Right,
especially in the
right.
next. So that's why it's good to have someone who's kind of not mentor, but someone who's, let's say, a colleague
Yes.
who's going to be your, you know, coach you kind of, or just try to support you the first weeks.
Absolutely. Okay. All right. Somebody who's there to help you out with the basic issues that are there at the workplace, like as you mentioned, the printing and everything. All right. Okay.
A buddy system,
Yeah, a buddy kind of a thing. All right. Okay. All right. Okay. While I was, preparing this, we just thought that, definitely you have to know about the company. Definitely, that's a given that you are given a full round of presentation on this, right? But another thing is that, one of the few, because you are a new joinee, yeah, right? You're like a new bride into the system, right? And you really don't know whom do we speak our mind to, right? What we can, where do I share my apprehensions? That's something which is one of the biggest concerns of the new joinee. And this is something that needs to be really ensured that these apprehensions are curtailed in the first place itself by the organization. And like, will I be respected? What will bring, one of the key things I feel is that, in fact, rather you should also, if at all you are looking for an, interviews, when you are applying for another job, a key thing is that definitely you may have been given your job descriptions or job tasks, but what is it that will bring success, okay, to my performance? How will I be able to perform? What are the key indicators for my success? How will I reach there? What is it that I can do to eventually ensure that my manager is happy with me, that he or she is satisfied with my performance? What is it that I should do? Right now, this is something, these are small apprehensions that generally people have in their mind. And then if you look at it, then how does the organization assist this? Largely, of course, you talk about the organization, you can just give a macro perspective, but you cannot teach the culture at all in just a few days, right? You just cannot do that. And when it comes to organization, we are not speaking of HR at all. Okay, we are not talking that HR has to do all the orientation and the onboarding. I'm sorry, it has to be the line manager. The role of line manager is far more critical than that of an HR, because the line manager has to identify where are the apprehensions of the person who has just joined, who's just so just new to the system. Okay, and it is the line managers. Personally, I feel that if the line manager, okay, I mean, it may be a very, very utopian and an idealist scenario, but if the line manager can help the new employee in the first 100 days of their career and ensure their first win, okay, that, okay, wow, everybody comes together to ensure that the new joinee gets his first win in the first 100 days, okay, and then you celebrate that win big time. I think there you have given the new joinee enough confidence to take his life ahead in the organization. You have brought the person, you have won the person over if you have helped him or her in the first 100 days and ensured his or her first win. I think that's very, very critical. And here the role of line manager becomes very, very critical. How well the line manager is sensitive, how well he or she is listening, identifying the cues, identifying where the new joinee is becoming weak or needs strength, that those are really important steps. And of course, the person, organization has to ensure that the right mechanisms of rewards and recognitions have been, explained. And there is a seamless transition of from the news or from like a new bride, right, leaving her home, and she's moving into a new setup altogether. and there are no jerks into the system. That's something which is very, very important. And yeah, it's not just about knowing the culture, but becoming the culture. That's the overall objective of the organization. And there are organizations where the HR, where the line managers have been trained in doing that, and it's the key to the success of onboarding exercise, overall onboarding exercise. Now, right now also the in fact, if you look at this entire part of the line manager, empathy becomes the key thing, right? And we've been discussing that in the present scenario, empathy from the organization is and from the leaders is the key thing. The current onboarding trends, again, it's such a task, right? What is it? It is virtual onboarding, right? Now, has anybody experienced virtual onboarding of late? Anybody changed job and experienced virtual onboarding or has done virtual onboarding for some people? Can they share their experience?
Yes, I did virtual onboarding just recently. In fact, my first day was virtual, so it was quite a new experience for me.
So how did it go, sir? What all activities, what all happened during that process of onboarding?
So basically, the first day there were a lot of meetings. There were a lot of courses that I need to attend, and across the entire onboarding period, there was a lot of trainings, virtual trainings.
A lot of virtual trainings that were on across through the day. Okay. Did you attend all the trainings? The
Yeah,
first day?
I did attend all the trainings. Yeah. In fact, the onboarding is still ongoing because it's a period of 1 year onboarding.
Yes.
So there's a lot of interaction with the teams across the region, also across the globe, and different departments. And yeah, it's just a quite long period of onboarding while also doing this. So, yeah.
Right. Such a tax, this, I don't know, somehow I feel this virtual thing is just killing the human touch so much, but we don't have a choice right now. This is a touch is what we are avoiding at best that we can. Okay, when you look at the onboarding sessions, again, this is coming from LinkedIn, the entire trends that are going on, and it's the orientation has to be avoided to just one video session. I was given an orientation. I was sent an email in not this institute. I work for other institutes as well. So just I was sent an email and I was given a video session and that is it. And I was done with the orientation. However, we definitely it has to be not just one video session, but has to be a series of interactive sessions with your team, your CEO, everybody. Now the LinkedIn's they have moved their 1 day onboarding regimen, which is basically an orientation regimen, not to a week-long program. And then in the week-long, they include a lot of things discussed within the one. They have some some games that they play with the new incumbent. So a lot of things. So basically the idea is that because you are not in the system, you are at your home, you have to continuously be involved through the day and through the weeks to become a part of the system, and that has to be done virtually again. So that's quite an exercise, I guess. Okay, the important part is that you have to keep people engaged, and employee engagement, virtual employee engagement will become a major challenge. These days, people, like if you look at it, the social side of teaching has become so it has lost. I like the fact that I have the comfort of giving the lecture from my house. I have the comfort of not taking the not spending my time in commute, but I have lost the joy of teaching because there is no interaction with the this. I mean, whatever, I have to coax the interaction. I try to have some interaction though, but the connect that we have face to face is completely lost, and hence engagement becomes a key concern with HR virtual engagement. I have known of some organizations who do these exercises, like, having a coffee session together. So everybody brings their coffee and then they open their camera and they all have a chat together, chit chat together. But I think it needs to go far beyond that as well. Okay, all right. Are you ready enough? That's the word. I hope this works. Okay, I'm keeping my fingers crossed. I'm not very sure, but I hope it does. Please let me know if you are able to see it.
Yes, doctor.
Yes.
But no sound.
There is no voice.
There is no voice.
Yeah, there is no noise.
There is no voice. Okay, then I think I will have to stop it somewhere, because if there is no voice, I don't know why is the voice not there. Any tech guys who can help me quickly with it, or I should stop it? Okay, forget it. I think we will stop it here itself. Let it be. So basically, those of you who have seen this movie, it is about, what is it about? What is it about?
A panda who tried to be a kung fu player, which is he's not able to be.
Yes, yes, yes. It is actually, this entire clip is nothing, but now that you are on board, the next thing is training. So it was just to introduce the concept training to you, that it was a very beautiful video in how the Kung Fu teacher is teaching this panda to learn Kung Fu and identifying his motivation of eating food and making him learn Kung Fu through that. So that's the idea I wanted to introduce, the training process. You guys are all, you have all worked and you've all gone through training exercises for sure. So nothing much in here again. It's really important for management. The steps in the training process, very simple. Need to have the training need analysis, identify, then design the instructions and ensure that it is validation is there. Validation, again, as the concept we discussed, that it needs to be delivering what it is supposed to deliver, and it is again validated by the experts in the industry, and then you implement the program, and eventually you tend to evaluate the training exercise, right? So those are the steps in the simple training process. Now, going ahead, that the training model, largely it is the ADDIE model that is used, which stands for analysis, design, development, implementation, and eventually the evaluation part of it. Now, to analyze that training needs, you can look into the task. Okay, the task analysis, assess the training needs of the employee, and also you can look into the performance analysis of the current employees who have whatever training needs they have. So the new employees, what all they need to ensure that they get to the desired optimal level of performance, or the current ones who have some gaps, and from there you can identify the training needs. Now, so many different ways to identify the training needs. Okay, so definitely you have the performance appraisals. I think that's the only method which is actually used these days to identify. Generally in your I forget the slide, but generally in your performance appraisal form, you have your functional areas, and then you have the interpersonal or skills or areas identified, and somehow your line manager will come up with something which is missing in you, and that will be your key training area, that will be identified. All right, but yes, we have to talk a lot of theory also. So job related performance data, observation, interviews, the tests, the attitude surveys again, and Diaries are barely not assessed these days, individual diaries, but assessment centers definitely. Assessment centers are incorporated. The results from the assessment centers are used to identify the training needs. And when we say assessment centers, it is a broad range of tests or scenarios that have been given to the individual, and they work on it, and based on the results, the needs are identified. Okay, there are different methods of training again. On-the-job training is by far the most significantly used, right? And there are different learning programs like simulations, like there is something called as sensitivity training as well. Now, have you guys had, I mean, most of you must have got training programs for team building exercises. Any experiences from the team building trainings? And how far does it help? If I could add to that. What do you think, the team building exercises? Have you experienced it? No?
Yes, experience, yes.
Yes. So what do you do on the team building exercises? Any experiences you want to share of that?
Team building exercise, like sometimes we feel that we don't gel with people easily, but when it comes to the actual exercise that they give during the training session, we all get together, and then it gives a different kind of bonding during after the training course also. So it has many times helped in our team also, like how to interact more with people, how to help each other. It was a good experience. Yeah.
Is that Sangeeta? Yeah?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, Sangeeta, so does the bonding continues after the training is over?
No. Because mostly it'll be there another 3-4 weeks. But then there are certain people that you can't control their, the way they respond and all. So we try a level best and then we leave it. Yeah.
Yes, yeah, it's so true. Yeah, I think that's the case with most of us, but that's why there is something called as a sensitivity training. Now, these training programs are basically, although we cannot guarantee its success as well, but I would share one of the experiences that I have had as a student while I was doing my MBA. So my teacher one day forgot his entire set of things to take the class. So he said, okay, let's play a game today now that I don't have my lecture with me. So let's play a game. So what he did is that basically he put all these people in groups, all of the students in groups, and he asked each of this person to write 3 things, positive 3 or 4 things about your group members. And it had to be necessarily positive, okay? So this was basically about each one of you. If you are 5 of you, then you will have to write 3 things or 4 things about each one of them. Now, in my group, I happen to have an individual whom I hated to the core of my heart, and the person shared similar feelings, mutual feelings we had. And now here I was, and I had to write great things about him, and he had to write great things about me. And it was such a pain to do that exercise, but eventually, when the exercise got over, it was quite a realization that, oh my God, how could this person say these things, positive things about me? And I could also come up with some positive things about him. So, although the enmity, the feeling was not completely eradicated, not that it was all flowery and nice, but still, definitely, there was a small realization that, okay, it is not that bad. So these sensitivity trainings are also used in organizations where you want to build, you want to ease out the tensions between the two teams. In that case, you can use some sensitivity trainings like that. But yeah, as we discussed, we really don't know the outcome. Okay, the on-the-job training, then there are different types of on-the-job training, job rotations, special assignments. Yes, please. Yeah.
For these kind of activities that it's being done within the new hiring team or the training session, do you think that it has, it's, as you said, it's decreased the tension between the team members? So I think for some people, these kind of activities only increase the tension between because some people are not used to have these kind of fun activities, if you might say. And for some seniors who think it's very, I don't know, I wouldn't say insulting, or it's very annoying to involve in these kind of activities. So what do you think about this?
Sir, what I personally feel about this and is that these, as the name in itself mentions, sensitivity training, right? Now, the role of the trainer becomes very, very significant in such scenarios. How well the person is trained to conduct such trainings is the key thing. A lousy trainer who does not know much about it, when can just really ruin the overall advantage that we can have from the session. But a well-trained person can really take these trainings to a definitely different level altogether. So which person are you hiring to bring about these kinds of trainings is the key thing for the organization. Otherwise, the training completely loses its significance. That is what I would want to say there. But what you mentioned in here, that people who are senior and they don't want to be part of these trainings and they find it, you use the word somewhere insulting, but yes, most of them find that it is not adding value to them. It is, they could utilize their time in a better manner outside the training. That's definitely there. But they have the question is that do we have a choice? Do we have a choice and not train your people? Right? So you have to bring about such trainings. Definitely, they are important. And it's not just the sensitivity training. There are so many other ways of looking at it. Like, you have the Johari model. Okay, Johari model is a very, very important, training, behavioral training, which is used. And if you look at the best of the organizations, they just do not focus only on functional skills. Okay, it is not important. So you have already picked up a person who has the caliber, who has the qualification, who definitely has experience in the functional skills. But how well he or she gels with your entire setup is really important. So the best of the organizations give a lot of behavioral trainings to their employees more than the functional skills. I don't know if I answered your question.
Okay,
No.
part of it, but what will be the impression about the staff who doesn't want to involve in these kind of activities? Or is the organization or the HR department see the new hiring or the candidate is not a team player based on his behavior, or it doesn't affect like very much?
So the fact that the person is not a team player will consistently show in the performance appraisal, right? It's going to come out in the performance appraisal for sure. It's definitely going to come out in the interactions that he or she has with the line manager. And if it continues to be there, sir, then we know what is the outcome that's going to be there. One cannot afford to be not a team player unless and until you are in such specific jobs which do not require teamwork. So if it is if one is not a team player and does not want to be part of the training as well, then we know what is going to be the outcome. We know what is the future going to be. He or she will have to be moved out of the system somewhere or relocated to a job that does not require those skills.
So you're basically saying that the impression of performance, sorry, candidate nature is a team player and individual can be based on performance only, not on the moral or the fun activities moral. Like, for example, that we have one staff, he's excellent in his performance and he's doing a very good job, but he's not very people person. He doesn't want to interact very much with his team. He doesn't want to go out for outing. He doesn't want to be involved in this kind of fun activity. He finds it very waste of time, and we are here to work, not to play with each other.
All right. Okay, wonderful. So this person who is currently doing excellent in his performance for sure, and he is not involved involved in team building exercises, or he is not a people's person. This is what your problem is, right? Now, fair enough. So current job, definitely he is doing a great work. Excellent. But when you counsel him, sir, or when you take his performance review, what are you going to talk about? Are you going to only focus on the present? Is he only, how long is he going to survive on his present situation that he is in, or in his present job role? What is the future? Because for any individual, why, when we say, when we do a performance appraisal, we have a performance section, and we also have an interpersonal section, or the behavioral competency section for all employees. The idea is that you may be great in your current role, but your future role, or the next role, or the role that you have to take up next will involve people. Will you need to take, you need to move up to a higher level where you need to control people, you need to take care of your people, you have to be a people's person eventually, because that's all what all the leaders do eventually, right? So if the person wants to continue in this job role and happy and satisfied, all right, stay there. Do not expect any kind of promotion. Do not expect any kind of vertical movement. You can continue to be in the same access level all the time. Fine, do their job. But if he or she has to move up, he has to learn the people skills. And that's the reason why we have it, the two sections of our performance appraisal form. So you can guide this person in this manner, that for now it is all fine and okay. You may not like, you may find it a waste of time, but eventually this is not. And great leaders and great performance does not come only at workplace. How many times the best of the deals are cracked in the smoke break that you take? How many times the interactions happen, not the critical interactions happen not at the workplace but in the bar? Am I right or not wrong? Am I right or wrong, sir?
Sometimes yes.
Yeah.
My
Yes.
my question: how, as HR, how can we enhance these social skills for these kind of candidates? Because as an organization, uh, we cannot. We want to enhance the people abilities and skills. So how can we tempt them to be involved in these kind of activities?
I think one is definitely walk the talk, right? Definitely the HR and the line manager have to walk the talk. They have to demonstrate that these are very important skills. And it's not just the job, the workplace interactions, but it is the informal interactions. The more informal interactions are encouraged at your workplace, I think slowly it's going to get inside the individual as well. It is all to do with how is the overall culture at workplace. Because if the culture talks about completely formal setups, and you have only emails to write to your line manager, you can, that's the only mode of communication, then definitely the person who loves not to being meet with people will be accepting that format only. However, if it's more of an informal culture, and where you can simply, walk into the cabins, and you have an open door policy, all of these small tidbits of how the HR has built the culture of the organization will eventually show on the employee as well. But as I said, as you're saying, sir, it is definitely individual based. So some people will be hard nuts, right? Like a person like me, I hate parties, right? I may seem to be a very talkative person when I'm in my session. Most of the people feel that I am an extrovert, but I am not at all. I like my books. I like my alone time with myself. So there are many people like these, but we have to ensure that we somehow, through the culture, through the entire process, we prove a point that, you know, managing people is the key skill that is required. And that can happen only through informal networks, that can happen only through out of the office, work. Perhaps you could even change the setup of the organization, right? Instead of having those cubby holes, or instead of having those closed compartments, if you just remove the boundaries, right? If you have a setup which is far more open, where you just have your sofas and your small work tables and everybody is interacting, perhaps in those sessions people will be little more uncomfortable, but sooner or later they will open up to these changes. Is that okay? I don't have enough work experience in HR, and my experience is largely in facilitating HR. But I don't know what did I make sense to you, sir?
Yeah, understood. Part of our career, you have to interact with people, so you have to be a people person. So that's for sure. I understood.
That is big time. That is because we cannot avoid it. We just cannot avoid it. Even though we have to be now virtual, but interacting with people, like it's really, really important. Very, very important interaction with people. We don't live on an island, sir, and we are social animals. We all are, right? So we definitely have to interact, and we don't have a choice in that.
Yeah,
And we
exactly.
better do. We better do because the research says that the overall happiness of individuals depends upon how good social circle they have. It is very, very important. Other than some really psycho cases who might need some actual interventions from psychiatrists, other than some cases, everybody needs a good social network, a good social circle, so that you have friends to depend on, you have a support system where you can depend on and you can interact. It's really, really important for our happiness. There may be a few cases like a friend of mine, her husband does not want to speak to anyone. Her husband is a case who uh, if a friend of his calls up on the landline at home, then he simply tells the daughter that just tell that dad is not at home. So he is such a psycho case that does not want to interact with anyone. In that case, you might need some intervention. So that as an HR, you have to take a call on and maybe perhaps intervene if at all required, right? Okay, that was good in the good insight and good interaction that we had on the training methods. It went a little different way, but yes, very nice. Okay, so going ahead, can I move ahead or do we still have any question here? It's 11:15 actually. We just 45 minutes more to go. I wanted to finish this topic. I have only few slides, although it's okay. It should be able to do. Any more questions, please?
No.
No? Okay. All right, we can move ahead. Okay. So yes, on the job training, one very important factor are special assignments. Okay, these are some special projects that you can assign to the people to develop their skills. They can be a subject matter expert, and these are very important in ways of motivating your employees. Very important ways of if they are put into a special assignment, it's becomes a very important, they feel motivated that they are a subject matter expert there and they learned in through that process and they eventually are happy to do it as well. Okay, and so there are obviously advantages of this format. All right, now if you look at this, we were speaking about training and we were speaking about the overall impact of the training. If you look at it, lecture has barely 10% impact. That's the approximate retention rate from lecture, and I feel so sad about it that that lecture has barely any impact. But yes, if there is a degree of participation increases, so that's why if we have some discussion, right, which we are trying to have a lot of it now, so the retention rate is almost 50%, right? So from 10% to 50%, if I only talk, it's 10%. But discussion brings about a lot of retention. And of course, there is an immediate use if you're using that entire thing. And if you're practicing by doing, definitely the retention rate is definitely much, much better. Okay. Some of the best practices that the organizations use when it comes to training. One of my favorites is Pepsi. So Pepsi, anybody working for Pepsi here? No? Okay. Yeah. All right. So they have a concept of something which is called as a fast-paced future leader. So they put people into different buckets, identifying based on the talent they put into different buckets. Now, talent is something which we are not touching upon right now, but when we do performance management, then in that case, we will definitely discuss a part of talent management. So they put people into different buckets, and they're, competencies have been either they have been identified by themselves, or it has been endorsed by their line manager, and they get a credit card, a training credit card, which involves a lot of which involves a subsequent amount of money in it, and they can always encash that credit card. Either they want to do it on the books, or they want to do it on some training assignments that they training programs that they get to know through the different institutes, or or they want to hire a trainer themselves, but depending upon the amount of the training credit card. So that's what PepsiCo does. Then Reliance also, definitely one of the organizations in India, has something called as a Dronacharya scheme. Now, those of you who are from India would understand who is a Dronacharya and who is an Arjuna. So Arjuna basically is coming from the mythological stories. Arjuna is the disciple. He is the one of the most important, significant student, and Dronacharya is supposed to be the teacher. So they have a Dronacharya scheme where a senior personnel from the organization itself becomes the mentor or Dronacharya, and he or she picks up a few mentees under him or her who are the Arjunas, and they train them within the positions and for some amount of time. Then there is the organization called Godrej in India, which picks up, has, organizations generally tie up with these consulting or training firms, and then within that they definitely, incorporate those trainers, and take help from them and develop the different training modules. Now, none of the training examples can ever be complete without talking about GE. Okay. Um, so Jack Welch was the guy who established the Leadership Development Center at Crotonville. And this is a massive, massive training setup, which was considered in GE as a pilgrimage for the GE employees, because it was supposed that the people who come out of this particular leadership program are completely transformed, and it's a lot of investment that was done at that point in time when it was established. All right, let's quickly take a look at this small case discussion, and we will be sorted soon. Yeah. Is it okay? I will move to the next slide. You have the options here. What do you think you should do as HR? What step you should take? Either of the A, B, C, D.
Maybe B.
The
B.
Option B. All right. Why, sir?
I think it's important to solve the issues that we have. So, for example, outsourcing it is not the solution; it's just short-term solution. but assessing the training, the needs for the organization, then in order to make sure that we are upskilling, actually solving the problem and upskilling the existing team. And also to prioritize what will be the added value and the ROI, the return on investment on this.
Perfect answer for that. Definitely the answer has to be B. Yeah, I hope it's not because of my uploading the slides prior to the session, but definitely it's the B is the answer. And we should not think of training and development as a solution to every damn HR problem, right? We need to identify what is the issue, and we should not only depend upon the higher management, and we need to show our own that we have the caliber as well to demonstrate. All right. Issues with training. I again had some small video. I think it does not require sound at all. So let's see if it works for us, and if you can, let's see if it works. Okay. All right. So, are you having such issues with online exams, online trainings?
Yes.
Okay. Any issues with training that you have experienced? Please don't be like that online exam pass student. I hope I will add some value, and it will not be like the one that we just saw in the video. Yes, please. Issues with training. What do you think are the key issues with training? Other than the fact that somebody is bored and not interested. Other than that, yeah, that's a very important issue actually. Issues? No issues at all with training? You guys are all satisfied with your training performance? Training? Very interesting, actually. Very interesting. All right. I think, yeah. No.
There is no choice now. There is no choice now. We have to adopt with this. Since we have agility, we have to adopt this.
There is no choice, sir. You have paid the fees and you have 4 hours to attend. You have no choice.
We supposed to have the direct class because if we wait for the direct class to happen, that will take, I don't know when it will happen now. I mean, they said the second wave, third wave, like that, it's increasing trend. So we cannot assume when it will resume back.
Right. No, I wasn't talking of in largely from the pandemic context that you have to take up the online exam. It's not about that. I was saying generally with training, what are the issues with training?
Generally,
Yeah.
sorry, yeah, if you ask about the training, it has to be initially relevant to the workspace and the work duties, the daily duties the staff is doing. So in many cases, we've seen some training which is irrelevant, sort of generalized training which is pushed out to the staff to do it.
Yes.
I would prefer to have it a step back and sit with the staff first and understand what kind of training they are interested to have,
Right.
which is they think they have a short of knowledge or maybe they need improvement of their performance.
Correct.
Which is that will be in this case will be a positive and sort of enhance to upscale their capabilities rather than pushing something which is for everybody.
Right.
Customization has to be there.
Customization has to be there. This is also true, and largely the issue is of relevance. Definitely, it is the key thing. Many a times, training is used as a reward as well. Okay, so that you've done a great performance. Okay, so you are sent to a training program, say in France. Okay, and you go and check on to the different wineries, and you have good stay, and that's a training program. So it's used more or less as a reward aspect, some to a great extent. So that's something which actually does not help much, honestly. And largely when you are when there is no relevance of the training program, then you are largely interested what is in there for the tea break. Honestly, that's at least in my first organization, we used to have regular faculty training programs, and the key thing that we would discuss and ask, okay, which cookie is there, or what is the food that is there in the lunch break, and the training was completely irrelevant. So those are the key issues with, right? And the, as I said earlier also, that a lot of investment has to be done in behavioral training more than the functional training, because functional training happens on the job. You can learn it from your people within the organization, but behavioral training, not many people do invest in. Now we just have half an hour. You have to bear with me, and we're talking about something important, which is called as the Kirkpatrick's level of evaluation of training. Okay, so there are 4 different levels. The first level is that when you evaluate the training. Now, if you look at it, when I was talking about my experience with training, wherein we were interested largely in the tea break. After the session was over, there was a huge list of questionnaire on how the training was. Oh yes, we used to give feedback. But whether the feedback was really taken seriously or not was a question. Okay. And that's where we are talking about that, we talk about what is the reaction of the, if you look only at the reaction level of the participant, then you will not be able to identify whether your training was significant or not, whether it was relevant or not. Because largely, when you have to react to the questionnaire, or you have to answer the questionnaire, people would know that they are being watched, and their answers might be go back to the senior management, and you have to write everything which is hunky dory. Oh my god, everybody used to mark all the trainings as great trainings. Nobody ever wrote the right feedback, right? So now if you're only measuring the reaction, then you cannot, that's the first level, and you will not learn much about it. However, if you are trying to measure the next level, which is the learning, what has measured how knowledge, skills, and attitudes have changed because of the training program. That is the second level of identifying whether the training was worth it or not. So the post measures, the pre or the post measures, and how your people have changed, right? Whether the KSAs have changed. That's the second level. The third is the behavior. Now, if you are able to measure a change in the behavior, that is something which is very important. Now, how do you do that? You cannot measure a change in behavior right after the training program is over, right? It will take a lot of time. It will take over a period of time when you look into the critical incidents that the employee has, right? If he or she was very impatient or impulsive, and if he or she has been put into a stress situation, and this time he or she is reacting in a far more balanced and sane ways, then it definitely shows that there is a change in the behavior, and there is an impact of the training program that he or she had undergone. So this is the third level of evaluating the training, which is the behavior. And finally comes the results part of it. Now results are, we have different ways of measuring the results. So performance appraisal is the place where you can talk about the results, that okay, this is because of your training that eventually there is an impact on your overall performance. All right, so that is the 4 different levels of measuring the training program: the reaction, learning, behavior, and results. And then, again, the return on investment of training is so difficult to calculate, but it's very important for the HR professionals to identify the ROIs on training. Now, some key HR metrics in training and development could be, again, like, metrics in recruitment could be training expenses per employee, then the training completion rate. Oh, this is so very important. For the fact of it that you have, the institute has to say that, okay, about 100% of the faculty have enrolled in a training program. Great. But how many of them have completed is something which is, important, talks a lot about your training program. The time to completion, the training spend rate, whatever you have spent upon the operating cost, and the participation rate. Now, this may be high because you have forced everybody to participate, but it does not talk much about your training at all. And then again, as we discussed, training assessment effectiveness can be measured in, how your eventual assessments, you can take some assessment centers and make them go through some tests, and whether they pass or fail talks about your training effectiveness. Okay. Then comes something which is interesting, which is the management development programs. Has anybody gone through the MDPs, management development programs? Any ideas, any experiences? How is it different from the regular training? Anyone undergone a management development program? Okay, I take that as a no. All right. So basically, again, the senior managers in the organizations, the different ways, different levels of trainings, right? So as we spoke about the different buckets in Pepsi, there are different training programs based on the potential of the employees in the organization. So generally a 9x9 matrix is used to identify the talent on potential and performance level. We will definitely look into it when we are doing performance appraisal, performance management rather. And people are identified as, fast movers, as having the potential. So they are sent in for different kinds of training programs. Their training budget is completely different because the fact that this particular person is a talent, so you have to invest in the person so that he or she continues to stay with you. Okay. So on the job training, definitely we know what are the different ways and you can do the on the job training. But other training, for management are, case study, management games, seminars, university related programs, and corporate universities as well. Now, corporate universities, what is basically a concept wherein one particular organization ties up with a particular university, and the faculty members of those universities come and teach the or train the employees. I have done something similar for an organization called as IBM in India, and I had to train the middle level managers in organizational behavior. In behavior training, I had to provide them. So that's one kind of training program which is there. Now, a case study method we all understand, and management games and all. And executive coaches, again, it is the privilege of the executives, right? So some of the trainings, some of the organizations invest in helping their top executives with highly expensive coaches, and they give a whole list of guidelines and they help you identify your strength areas, your weaknesses, and then they guide accordingly on those to the individuals. Okay. Okay, now we are towards the end. Actually, we have done, we're done. Oh wow, we are through. So that's, you can have that break that you wanted much earlier. Okay, the relevance of training. What is the relevance of training is something that need not be discussed honestly, right? So if the CEO asks, the CFO asks the CEO, what happens if we invest in developing our people and then they leave the company? And the CEO simply answers, what happens if we don't and they stay back, right? Okay, so before we do the recap, any questions here, any perspective, any viewpoints here that we can have on training? Oh, the fact that we have come towards the end does not mean that you guys can, sign
My
off.
perspective on the training means that training should guide the people to develop that ideas and the sources. The training should give several sources to I mean, develop the, I mean, make the, sorry, that ideas in the implementation stage. Yeah, that is my perspective.
So training should give ideas to implement.
Yeah, very basic idea to, I mean, maximum possible ideas.
Okay, ideas should be
It's a
implemented.
guidelines, not an idea. Guidelines to develop the idea.
Okay, guidelines to develop ideas. Okay, all right. That is what training should help do. Okay, all right. Anything else? Anything else that comes to your mind
I
about
think
training?
training should not be like traditional one, which is like lecturer and then the attendees. It should be like more practical, more of new ideas, implementation, case studies,
Yes.
involvement of the trainees in the program.
Yes, yes. Okay, right. Absolutely, because I think it was Rakia, right? So it is
Right.
as we just saw in one of the slides here, is that the impact of training, in fact, the retention rate of training depends upon the different kinds of training programs, right? So just a simple method of lecture is not the right way of ensuring that there is retention of the content of the training program. And that is why, most of the trainers and most of the people just do not focus on training. They talk about lot of interaction, lot of games happen. In fact, my classes also are always very, very noisy classes because we do so much of talk and we do so much of action in the class that they're always noisy classes. But unfortunately, it doesn't work this way on the online setup. I really don't know how to get it more interactive, but that's how it is. We really cannot do much about it right now. Yes, and yeah, having said this, there is still no choice that we have, as the sir earlier, gentleman earlier mentioned, that we don't have a choice right now, but this has become the trend. Okay. All right. Should we just do the recap now? And if you have any more questions, we can take a look at that. We started with understanding the history of HRM, and we spoke about how, from the guild workers, when people just came together to work, from there, we moved to, understanding the role of people in workplace. Okay, earlier there was no focus on people aspect of it, the social aspect of it, but it was through the Hawthorne experiments that we were enlightened on the fact that okay, behavior can be something which can impact the productivity. And from there we moved to uh, guild, to we moved to labor officers, to we moved to HR officers, and now we are called as business partners or strategic partners, or the human capital rather. So that was a brief history of HRM, and then we spoke very little about the HR planning part of it, that how, because of the strategic goals of the organization, we need to take a look at the plans. Recruitment and selection, we looked into some recruitment metrics, and then we spoke about some of the trends which are shaped by the pandemic, because of which in recruitment it's largely happening online, it's largely virtual recruitment, and HR managers have to be very, very sensitive of how to interview online. It's very, very important. So one of the really key things I think virtually what happens is that because of the fact that you are in the comfort of your own home, you are in yourself a comfort zone. And as an interviewer, it's really important that you don't do that. So it becomes a challenge in that case, but you have to come out of your pajamas and ensure that you are taking a formal interview. It's really, you have to be very, very sensitive about it. Then we spoke slightly about the onboarding process and challenges in what is this Panday? What is this Panday? It is challenges in in the a pandemic. Oh my God, there's something wrong with it. I think it's just copied.
No, it's correct. It's correct. Challenges in pandemic. It's correct.
Right, it is challenges in the pandemic, but I see it's something as it's been copied twice or thrice, I think. There is something which is wrong in here. I think it's been copied again here. I think in my case, it's copied. All right, whatever. Yes, challenges in the pandemic. Then we looked into the training and development as well, the training metrics, and eventually the management development that we spoke of, right? All right. So any more questions, any feedback, anything you want me to remove, anything you want me to add?
No, just I would like to thank you, Doctor, for the presentation today. It's really give us a new perspective or a new looking to the HR, not to look them as our enemies in our organization.
Oh, please, 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 they are not your enemy.
And no, we started. Maybe at the end of this session, we will change the idea completely. We started changing the idea about that. And just I would like to ask about the assignment, as we did not receive any email regarding that. No assignment? Please say yes.
Oh, I don't believe in assignments, trust me. What, I was very lucky to have a professor who believed that too. And, what is the objective? If you look at what is the objective of exam, the objective of exam is to know what you don't know, right?
Right.
Right. And there is so much in your life that you don't know. How can we assess that? Just tell me. We cannot assess what you don't know. So what is the point of the exam? That is, I totally don't believe in exam. So I was lucky to have one professor. So he would tell us that you tell me what you know. I want to know what you know. So you tell me the topic and I will give you the questions on that. Right? But Raika, the problem is that I am not so free to use my discretion here. I'm bound by the institute, and the institute has asked me to give you an assignment, and I have already done that, sent that assignment. Let me just see if it is there on your files.
Can you share it with us, please? Because
yes, 100%. I will share with you right away. And
so
just
we can start working on it from now. And if we have any questions, we will leave it for the next session at the end.
Absolutely right. Absolutely. Yes. Okay. Does it say the assignment? No, it does not say the assignment is not there.
It's already available in the students portal, which was downloaded yesterday itself.
Okay,
maybe you can see in your student portal, Rekha.
Okay, so it's on the student portal.
If record, maybe we can WhatsApp you the assignment questions.
Yeah, please, if you can.
I can, that is, if that is a concern, then I can right away upload the assignment here itself. If you want me to do that, I can right away.
Yeah, please. Thank you, Doctor.
Okay, just a minute. Give me a minute and I will be done with it. Okay. There you are, HRM. And it is the outline, and that's the HRM assignment. I do not know if there has been any change in the assignment by the institute, but this is what I had uploaded. I had sent to them, so that must be your assignment. And if you look at it, you have the HRM textbook here, which is basically the HRM by Gary Dessler. That is for your perusal. And going back, how do I go back now? Okay, HRM. There is another textbook which is here by Durai and Praveen Durai. So you can refer to this book as well. And this is not the PPT that I have been using in the session today. I generally don't like to share my PPTs, but since I had to, so I shared this one. And for the next session, I will have a fresh new PPT. And I like to share my PPTs post the session gets over. Right now, I will share this one right away. Okay, I will share my PPT here again. Okay, that's the one. And there you go. Okay, you replace this one, right? I'm replacing it, okay? Anything else I can do for you all? Any questions, any concerns? The assignment you want to see?
If you have If you would like, yes, we would.
Okay,
Yes, yes, please.
yes, 100%. We will look into the assignment. It's a very simple assignment, nothing complex at all. This is simple guidelines as has been given earlier by the institute. There is a small case study, which is 40 marks, which has got 4 questions of 10 marks each, 250 words. And then you have the application-based questions, and you have 5 questions of 10 marks each. And that is all you have. And you don't have to submit or start working on the assignment right now, because as of now, for today, we have only done 2 topics, which is basically the HR acquisition and the training part of it. We will be doing a lot more topics in the course. So it is advisable to start working on the assignment post our session gets, we complete our session. Yeah.
But when is the submission date, Doctor?
Okay, I am not in control of that as well, unfortunately. So I have to check with the institute and get back to you. But I think your course gets over somewhere in July, right?
2nd July.
2nd of July.
7th July is a
8th
submission
of
date
July is the
for this.
submission date.
It's mentioned on the
Four
file itself.
sessions. I have 4 sessions with you. Today was the first, 11th, 18th,
25th
25th,
and 2nd.
and the second. So 2nd of July is going to be the last session for us together. I'm sure they'll give you about a 15-day time or a 10-day time period to.
It's mentioned 8
They
day,
give
8th
6
of July.
days.
In 6 days after the course gets over.
Yes.
Yeah, so
Yes.
it shouldn't be an issue, I guess. I don't think it should be an issue. Don't worry. Okay.
That's why we are working on question by question. Whatever we are covering, we will cover the question on the same week. And if we have any concern, we will be discussing it next week.
You can discuss with me next week for sure. And if you really want, I could give you my contact. Okay. And there is my contact. Okay.
Nice of you.
It's swane.pragy@gmail.com. That's my email ID. And in case you have to, then it is here. Okay. That's my phone number, 5298-32680. Right? So that's how you can connect with me anytime. I can respond depending upon my free time because I am a little occupied these days. So that's right. Anything else? Any other concern that you have?
No, ma'am.
All right. Okay. All right. Very nice interacting with all of you. Any feedback? Anything you want me to add on to it? Something that you feel that you can help you further, or is something missing? Something that you want to share? Nabil or Mohammed? Anyone who wants to share something? Any feedback? Quick feedback. What can I do?
No, thank you, Doctor. I think it
No, we are
was
fine. Thank
clear.
you.
Yeah.
All
I think
right.
as we go on the next sessions, we will have more maybe questions and that.
All right. All right. So thank you. Thank you very much, everyone. And hope
Thank
you
you
all
very
have a nice weekend and you do your good job in your presentation that you have on entrepreneurship. Good luck for that, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you
All
very
right.
much.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Doctor.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks to everybody. Bye.
Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Doctor. Take care.
Thank you very much, Takir. Thank you.
Thank you, Doctor.
Thank you, Jagdish. Thank you.